Yes, people, we live. Richie in the house, Black Eyes TV, coming to you live from Texas, chilling with some of my people. Them continuing a conversation from the other day, when I was when I was listening to Solomon, who's on the panel, listening to his discussion show about black women and what the problem is and how best to communicate. So today is really a continuation of that. I got my brother George Makin on. As I said, I got my brother Solomon on. I got the lovely sister Sapphire in the building as well on the panel. And we're just, as I said, continue the conversation of, is the black woman beyond talking to? And what is the solution? What is the best way to talk to your woman when it comes to different subject matters? Because again, Solomon was making some interesting points the other day about when it comes to child rearing, you know, when it comes to healing, all these kinds of factors. So yeah, that's where we want to go in on and start. George, you got anything to say?
Um, you know what? No, I think Sapphire should lead off because Sapphire is a woman.
All right, then.
That's all.
Peace and good morning to all that's listening to this show. Thank you for your time and energy. Please like and share this show, family. And yes, I think on this topic, it's very important that we do discuss this because Black women do struggle with changing for the unity of Black families, and with communication, it's really far in between depending on your background and your life. So with that being said, I do think the topic is very important because I too struggle with this topic from time to time, depending on what the conversation is about or the misunderstanding. So if we can be more open-minded to want to discuss real issues regarding family, our behavior, how we project ourselves outside the world, as far as always being loudmouth, talking down on a Black man in public, arguing with a Black man in public, causing scenes with a Black man in public, or doing it to our children, a Black little boy, because it kind of sometimes starts at a young age, and a young mother projecting that type of negative energy, even though we call it chastising, putting your kids in check. Sometimes those type of insults that we put upon our kids, it can kind of like set the platform to the Black man growing up feeling that the Black woman don't appreciate him, because sometimes some of these boys go through some things emotionally because they don't have a father in their life to balance that energy out, and they may be attracted to a Black woman that has a loud mouth, or talk too much. And then as he is in that relationship with the Black woman as a young Black man, then after a while it can turn him off to date outside of the race. So I'm not saying all Black women are guilty of doing this. Some, but I have seen it. It is embarrassing. It's on World Star, so we're not speaking on something that does not that is not televised on live streams and things of that nature. Is Jerry Springer's show is now worldwide famous because of the Black woman and how we are being demonized. But again, those behaviors starts off in the home first, and then it it passes on worldwide. So that's what I have to say for now. I'm pretty sure there's going to be some other things. I do encourage the women that are listening to this show, if you want to be a part of this, please type it in the chat room, so Black Ice could see that you want to be a part of this panel show. If you agree with me, that's fine. If you disagree, that's fine too. But we do need more women to speak on this topic so this could be more of a balanced conversation. And I'll be quiet for now.
Most definitely. Listen, I want to thank my brother from the UK also has joined us, Sarah Garvey. You there, brother? Big up for joining.
Yeah, I'm here, King. I'm here. Good. What's peace? What's going on?
That's all. Yeah, we just this is a continuation conversation from the other day when I was listening to another show and we was just chopping up about the black woman and the black man and our roles in trying to make a more harmonious relationship setting. Solomai, you there, brother?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What's good, man?
Right. Now, you, brother, was setting out some premises about the problems. So I want you to talk on your feelings on this subject because you kind of inspired this continuation of the conversation. So you was making some points the other day about your observations of the black woman. So again, just on the premise of the question, is the black woman beyond talking to? What's your thoughts and feelings on that one?
Well, a few days I did a show and it was dealing with interracial relationships. And when we was dealing with because I had a segment where I did with black men dating white women, and then a segment where I had black women dating white men. So within the context of that conversation, it kind of got brought up, the relationship between the black man and the black woman, and how we interact with each other, and how a lot of times the black woman is above critique. This is a term that Brother TJ uses very often. Y'all may not know him, but he's a person that's frequent on my channel, Brother TJ. And he says that the black woman is above critique. And what he means by that is that every time when we bring up issues pertaining to black women, and I don't know if this is an American problem or something that's going on globally. So, anybody who's like listening, maybe certain nuances within the conversation, you're like, well, what is he talking about? What we do know for certain that in America, a lot of times when we try to communicate with our women, it's kind of like a clash, a cultural clash, and also due to the fact that we like, I'd say almost 60 years integrated in and into this mainstream society. I think that our women is more integrated than we are. So she tends to be better educated. She tends to have a little more stability than the average black man. And it's, it's exceptions to the rule, but in general. And I think that as a result of that, it's kind of a clash that you're beginning to now see, because a lot of times, a lot of black men, they go through the process of having to learn the hard way and end up with a criminal record. And while in prison, they get attached to a lot of the revolutionaries that has been locked up. So they have interaction with like people more so that is in rebellion to the system as opposed to being complacent within the system. And the females, on the other hand, they tend to be, and that's due to like, maybe a testosterone, estrogen thing, but they tend to be less rebellious. So as a result, they get access to going to college. So they're getting educated by the system. While on the other hand, a lot of black men, they're going through the systems of incarceration, where they're running into a lot of revolutionaries, maybe, or they're getting enlightenment somehow there. Whether it's like Hebrew Israelite Islam or black nationalism, whatever the case may be. So long story short, when the black man comes home and he begins to interact with his black woman, there's a conflict. She don't really see a lot of the things that he sees, and and then also you couple that with her being very successful in the society, you tend to have a situation where she don't really want to listen to you, because what she's doing, she feels as though she's getting more results going about it that way, the way she's going about it. And so that's why, I guess the term is the black woman above critique. She's not really trying to hear a lot of the rhetoric, pertaining to what's going on in America and why, this system is not really for us, things of that nature. Anything that's counter the system, their ideals of what they perceive and what they want in a black man. It's kind of like, you know, more centered around like, you know, mainstream. They want to most likely a Christian man that's, you know, not going against the system, but making money in the system. And, you know, these are like certain ideas, but it tends to not to be the actual reality when you're looking at the average black man. So it tends to be a conflict there.
I'm with you. Let me just say, first of all, man, that the problem you're talking about is definitely westernized, like Europe, America, same thing, and a lot of other countries that are taking on the westernized culture. Again, same struggle. There's definitely a difference in the East, certain Eastern countries and African countries, but I think anywhere where they're starting to take on this westernized culture, you're going to get the same struggles and battles. And again, this plan of destabilizing where you're giving more opportunities certain times, especially again in the westernized places, to black women, that's a definite. We're joined by another sister. You there? Who's this? Nyla? Sister Nyla?
Hi, how you doing?
How you doing, my dear? Thank you for joining us. It's important for us to hear the sisters, so I want to go to you next. Did you hear some of the build-up conversation that was going on?
Unfortunately, I didn't. I just checked my email and just saw the invite, so
All
I
right,
hadn't got a chance to.
that's cool. We're just talking about, again, is the black woman beyond talking to, and we're going to talk obviously about solutions of how best the black man and the black woman can come together and heal each other and heal together. But just on that first question, is the black woman beyond talking to? What's your viewpoint on that?
Absolutely, the black woman is not beyond talking to. There is obviously a lot of work, you know, on both parts, but let's go ahead and talk about the black women. There are some we need to address, and that we need to quantify. Oftentimes, like I actually talked about this on my channel. A lot of us are operating off of bad wisdom or the lack thereof, bad advice. And not to say that every elder is giving us bad advice, but some of them were working through their own experiences and not properly being able to deal with them, and out of their bitterness, handed down a lot of bad information. And a lot of us are working through that and operating on that, off of, you know, the advice of what I like to call the elder bitter bird. And just operating in Western society under Western culture, period, is going to be challenging for Black people, because this society and this culture is not designed for us to benefit from, or to even benefit each other. But it's definitely going to, you know, we can definitely talk to Black women, but we have to first understand, and Black women, you know, we got to understand that brothers have to make some concessions for us based on, you know, what's going on with us, as we do have to make concessions for our brothers. If we could begin as Black people to stop looking at each other through the lenses of white folks' eyes, and other people's eyes, and we just start to view each other based on exactly what it is we're going through and who we are as a unit and as a people, I think that we can begin to kind of break down those barriers and start talking and communicating with each other. But right now, we're looking at each other with the expectations of what this society represents for the dominant culture, and not for what it can represent for us.
I'm with you on that one. Listen, this is a paddle show. This is a discussion. So please, as you hear points being given, because I don't know all the people that are on the panel, feel free to jump in, you know, say what you need to say. We're setting the tone right now. So, and obviously I wanted this.
I'll say this. I agree with what the sister said. I think that the problem that we turn it down some son. I think what we have to understand is being captured in this Western society and being forced to integrate into it, the black men has been overtly destroyed by the white supremacist society, and it's used the woman to help further it. What do I mean by that? The woman is the one that gives birth to the children, and she's the ones raising the children. So the system allows the black woman in today's time to go to the institutions, get educated, get jobs. It set up a system where it makes the black man inconsistent and make the black woman psychologically believe she doesn't even need the man that gives birth to her children. This is the confusion. So now, once the black man is inconsistent because he's been overtly challenged by the system, the black woman's standards of what success is now is based off the model of what the white man created. And that's never going to work for a successful black family. It's just not going to work. So what happens is we in turn turn around and we blame each other. The black woman is above reproach. The black man is inconsistent. The black man is trifling. The black women don't listen. But we're not turning around. We're not turning around looking at the true enemy, the one that set the system up in place. You know, it set up a system where ostracizes me from being able to partake in it as a black man, unless I'm docile, gay, or I'm just a straight up conservative, where I just totally abandon any thought of black nationalism or any thought of putting together a black family. I can't be a black man and think that way and flourish in the system. The history has shown that. It's shown that. So these are the things that we got to begin to look at, because everything I'm speaking is the reason why you have the behaviors that we have. And, you know, I just look at it like, so I expect the black woman in this system to be beyond talking to, because she doesn't belong to us. She belongs to another man. What the hell is going on? She belongs to another, her mind, she belongs to another nation. She doesn't look to us for strength and guidance. She doesn't look to us to provide that paycheck for her. What really do we provide to the black woman but sex? Within this culture.
No, that's what they've left.
Can I interject there?
No, true.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I get exactly what you're saying. When you speak about black women having the option of welfare and all that kind of stuff.
You're breaking up a bit, my dear. You're breaking up a bit. Say that.
Possibly the black man not being, or whatever. That. Okay, hold on. Let me see. Hear me a little bit better now?
Yeah.
Hold up. Everybody, let's mute out when you're not speaking. That way we don't have that problem.
Okay.
Okay. So the thing about it is, when we talk about this, everybody, all of us, black women too, myself included, we all have some biases towards our own sex. That's natural, and that's not taking a shot or anything. But I think that when we lead these types of conversations with, well, the black woman thinks that she's this because of this, and the black woman did this because of that, you're right there. You're alleviating the system from its part in it. And I think that when you want to have the conversation, can we still talk to black women? You have to understand that when you're talking to black women, that black women, and I'm getting this, and I'm not saying that you're saying this, but I'm hearing this a lot and seeing this like in the comment section of my videos, where black men seem to think that black women are living outside of white supremacy.
Yeah.
Or like we're not affected and bothered. I spent about 20 years in corporate America. I'm also a CPA. So before I joined in the family tradition of entrepreneurship, I worked in corporate America alongside white males. I've hired many black males. Oftentimes, black men would say, oh, well, you just have that job, money, and, it has nothing, they would completely diminish the fact that men then, or that were directly reporting to me, didn't have the credentials that I had. They would diminish all that because of this. And they never understood that I too, especially in corporate America, dealt with I wouldn't say all, because I definitely know that black men have a different experience with racism and white supremacy than we do, but I still experienced it. I still had to deal with the fact that I knew some conversations in, within some groups were racially biased. There were times when I couldn't say what the fuck I wanted to say because I had to work. I felt that oppression. I felt that white supremacy. I dealt in the same, I was outside in the same white supremacist ass world as black men were. I dealt with watching my siblings and my father and other men have to deal with white supremacy. Even though what they dealt with, I didn't experience personally, but watching them affected me. So then when I have conversations with black males and they say to me, hey, you guys are used by white supremacy. Y'all, you're not suffering under white supremacy. You guys are a benefit. I think that's bogus and diminishing and might be part of the reason why a lot of men, which this is like a lot deeper than that, but at a higher level, a lot of men have a problem with getting cooperation from women because they refuse to quantify that. Like we have this thing going on around about submission, cooperation. That's all it is. It's cooperation. But a lot of men come and say, you black woman, you won't submit. You won't do this. You don't want to do. Black women will submit to you. Most of us will submit to a man that, has, righteous authority, but use words as submit. We came from the same system that you came from. So the white man is trying to get me to submit to him, just like he's trying to get you to submit to him. So when you use certain languages and you don't counter in the fact that when I come out from these streets, that I'm dealing with that same world, and you say stuff like, hey, you benefit from white supremacy or you help white supremacy, you diminish my role and you put me at odds with you. And I'm not saying, from a personal standpoint, but I'm saying a lot of sisters are feeling that when, men speak from that perspective, they don't understand what it sounds like or what that resonates with women.
No, I'm feeling you on that one. Zara, you got something to say?
Yeah.
Go to, brother.
No, I'm a firm believer in the age-old adage that if you build it, they will come. And just like the sister spoke about before, like, I don't use the term submit myself, but if you build it, the women will come. And that's what I 100% believe in my heart and my soul, because I know that within my life, I've interacted with black women who I could have made a life with, and I chose to make a life with a certain type. So I didn't come across a unruly, just for me myself, I didn't come across this unruly black woman that won't be spoken to in my life. I never came across her. But what I did for myself is when I built myself up to the person that I wanted to be, I started to attract the women that I wanted, if that makes sense. And that's because I built myself. And I think that a lot of black men, and I'm not just talking about financially. This is not a financial conversation exclusively. When you build yourself into the man that that you're supposed to be, the women that you want will actually come to you. It's a very interesting experience, and I had to, I went through it myself. So I think a lot of black men are broken by the system of white supremacy. I think a lot of them are broken, and a lot of women can actually see that, and they generally don't want a broken man. They want someone who's strong. They want someone who's of authority. They want this, and if you are that man, for me, in myself, the women that you want to attract will actually be attracted to you. That's just my 2 pence.
No, I'm with you on that one. And let me just say this as well on this white supremacy. I think we got to realize that it's set up to cause a divide. So those opportunities, as the sister was pointing out, where we see black women maybe getting more jobs or higher paid jobs than the average black guy, it's set to cause a divide. They're doing that on purpose, so there is a form of resentment. And again, we got to recognize even that as, again, them being under white supremacy. It looks like an advantage because obviously, as the black males, we're being, put down. We're not being able to make money in the same way. We're put on a tighter leash, so to speak. But at the same time, you have to remember that that is a tool. So when you and that sister come together, there is a natural resentment already in place before you even start talking about, as she said, similar experiences of her being on lockdown, just the same as you, in the same situations, being looked at and discriminated before she even opens her mouth because of the color of her skin. Like, before you even get to that talk, there's already a built-up resentment because of this tool that they're using, where they're empowering the black woman in certain areas, whether it's the courts, whether it's the jobs, and they're allowing that situation to flourish. But yeah,
sorry, just to jump back on that, I think there's a level of understanding that black people need to have in this system with each other. Okay, so to me, the women that have spoken on this panel seem like they have a general understanding of what is going on within the system in which we operate in. Okay, and for me, at my age, if I interact with somebody, this is just me on a general, this is just me personally. If I'm interacting with a woman at this age now who doesn't generally have that level of understanding, I will go left. That's just me, because I haven't got time at this juncture in my life to be teaching somebody something that I think they should know by this age, if that makes sense. And so I am firmly in the belief that not everybody's going to make it. Like, I think black people think that every black person is going to be conscious and they're going to understand. And I'm like, no, they're not. Realistically, they're actually not. Not every black person's going to quote unquote get it. Okay. And so you need to start, or we need to start working with the people who actually get it and moving forward with the people who actually get it. Because for me, that will be more fruitful.
I'm with you on that one. Not everyone is going to get it, most definitely. Listen, we got two people on the chat who I haven't heard from, and I don't actually know. King and what's that? Out the blue.
Yeah,
you there, brother?
Yeah, brother. I also wanted to kind of piggyback off what they were saying.
Yeah, big up. Go true.
One of the points that she was making was standard, and also the brother George had made the statement on the standard. I think one of the ways that we can help each other is reestablishing standards that fit us. That, you know what I'm saying, standards that we can hold each other to. That, you know what I'm saying. So it's not like it's not like you're not standing on anything, but you're replacing the standards that you would normally have in the system with something that's more for that fits more for our culture, that fits more for our spirit and different things like that. Actually, I had a question to raise, because just like the last brother was just making was, you know what I'm saying, coming across sisters that are later on in life, and they still have not arrived to the conclusion that we are at war with this system. I wanted to know, when did I think, I'm not sure how many sisters is on here, but I wanted to know when did they come into what we would call consciousness? Around like what age did they start waking up and looking around and seeing that, you know what I'm saying, the things that are going on aren't really healthy for their culture?
Well, I can speak on that. My mom has started teaching my sisters and I, and I'm the oldest. When we were little girls, my mother had 4 girls and one boy, which is the baby. And in a way, I kind of look at her as an Israelite, because she was reading the Bible to us and reinterpreting it, that it was us in the Bible and not Caucasian white people and things of that nature. But then at the same time, because my mother had all girls, like, I remember some of my sisters, and including myself, was sometimes pushed against the consciousness that she was teaching us, because we wasn't Christian. She wouldn't let us go to church. And of course, when we go to the public schools where we're integrated with other people and Christians and things of that nature, we used to come home and kind of question and challenge some of the things she was saying as we got older, because we didn't really see other people believing in the same thing that my mother was still, putting the information out to us. So I guess that ended up following me in my early adulthood, where my other sisters, they all fell off. One of them is a hardcore Christian. The other one don't go to church. One of them was a part of the Nation of Islam, got kicked out of that twice. And now she converted back to Christian. Where me, I'm just more of, I want to learn everything. So I really don't have a label, but I'm not a Christian. So consciousness has started with me at a very young age. But I also want to build on some of the things that the sister has spoke on as well, because I'm too right now in corporate America, and yeah, I had to experience white supremacy as a Black woman. And I have also witnessed Black men sleeping their way into the positions that some of them have right now in corporate America. So it's not just the Black woman that's a slave to the corporate and the white supremacy type of jobs. I sometimes see Black men sometimes take advantage of it, just like we do, because there's always a misconception that if a Black woman is like the VP or one of the executive at her job, she either, slept her way through that position, or she had to put in some crazy overtime just to be recognized and to be equal to another white woman in order to get that position. Well, Black men take advantage of that as well, especially if he's good looking. And nobody don't want to talk about that piece of it either, but I just want to put it out there. I have personally witnessed Black men sleeping their way up to corporate America, and it just doesn't just, happen to Black women and the pressures that we go through. So that type of stereotype, even though people don't want to acknowledge it, it does happen.
Sister Nyla, you there?
Sure. So as far as me, I don't really like the conscience term, because it's starting to get, people use that as an insult now and all that kind of stuff. But I want to say that because I come from a Black family that had two different, one American and Western
understand her.
culture.
You're breaking up, my dear.
The
You're breaking up again, my
other
dear.
and experiencing both cultures within the same race, it was very easy dysfunction. Okay.
I think you're gonna have to change positions. We're having trouble hearing you.
Sorry, Richie, I'm gonna have to go. I gotta go pick up my son.
Cool, brother. Nice one for joining us. I'll invite you on the next one. If you come back and we're still on, feel free to jump back on, brother.
No problem, bro.
Okay, she's jumped off. I think she's got to reset her thing.
Everybody fell off.
It's the reception then of the show.
Yeah, they'll probably come back on.
Everyone's got to jump back on.
I'll say this. I just think that what has to happen, Brother Rich, and for the people in the chat, those of us that are consciously aware. I'll just use the term consciously aware of what's going on. I'm not just going to say just conscious, because I know that that word conscious gets abused nowadays. But those of us that's in the know, to be able to have conversations like this where we're not berating and beating up on each other, because we understand what's happening. So now we can have conversations with certain sisters where it is we're not trying to one up each other. I just think that we have to understand what the system is. I kind of look at it like I kind of look at it like it's kind of like me facing my woman. I'm looking at her, she's looking at me, but standing behind her is the system. And the system has my woman, by the back of her shirt. She can't see him, but I can see him. He's telling me, I got your woman. What you gonna do about it? And he's constantly overtly setting up challenges against me, but he's psychologically conditioning her to believe that this system works for her. So now once we begin to understand who's the culprit is, and our sisters begin to understand it too, this is when we begin to break those mental shackles and begin to break this thing. Because as black men, from the time you're boys, you learn that the system is against you. But the black woman, while he sets up provisions for her to be successful in it, he's still imprisoning your fathers, killing your sons, doing all kinds of things. So we have to understand that it's all a trick and it's all by design. And once we understand that we in this boat together as a family, he's attacking us in different ways, but he's still attacking us nonetheless. I think that's when we'll begin to be successful and begin to work on, because we actually, man, no matter how much we talk as black men, we need our sisters. We can't survive without our sisters. We can't go forward anywhere without the black woman. It's not going to work. It's just not going to work. And she needs us. She needs us. So, that's just my take on it. I'll mute my mic.
Sister Nye, you back? Can you hear us?
Yes. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you good now. That's all.
Okay. What I was saying is when I started to realize, some of the dysfunction and, quote unquote consciousness or whatever, I was raised by a black family that had two different cultures. And one side of the family was very, very typical American Western culture. And I just right away, very early, I want to say as young as 8 or 9 years old, knew the difference in between a lot of things. And like my father has always, a lot of stuff that people talk about now and use for the standard of what is conscience is stuff that my dad was telling me when I was 9 and 10 years old. Like, we literally were like, my dad and I would go fishing and we were talking about the fucking JFK files, or my mom and I cooking in the kitchen and she would be talking to me about Asada and about Angela Davis and about, like this is where I come from. And because that is the kind of people that I've been around, those are the kind of friends that you have. You understand what I'm saying? Those are the kind of people that you are surrounded by. So like when I saw how dysfunctional Black relationships were between men and women, I did not realize, to be honest, how dysfunctional relationships between Black men and Black women were until about 5 years ago. And I know that's going to sound crazy, but honestly, if I had not like gotten into a couple of Facebook groups, I would have never known that there was this war between Black men and women. I didn't know that there was this underlying hatred that the two had, of this battle, but I did see the dysfunction from one side of my family. I saw how men and women were treated differently on both sides of the family. Like I saw how on my dad's side of the family, most of, everybody kind of had their role and nobody was diminished. It's like I never heard my dad say somebody had to submit to him. But I also never heard my mom say, you don't respect me or you don't protect me, because there was a cohesive unit there in the first place. But if I went on to my mom's side of the family, particularly her mom's side of the family, I did see that dysfunction. I saw, the broken homes and the broken marriages. I saw, the first time I heard something jacked up about a Black man was from one of my aunts on that side of the family saying, don't go like, and this was a lady telling me this when I was in my early 20s. She was like, don't go and get a Black man, a Black boy. She says, make sure you get you a Black man, because Black, these men, get you somebody a lot older, because, and, don't let him run anything, because men want to control you. And, they don't want to give you money, and they don't want to do this, and they don't want to do that. And so she like literally was putting all this negative energy and perception in me about Black men that I had never heard. Like I literally had never seen black women hate black men and black men hate black women until Facebook. But her words like really struck me for a long time. And I thought about it, how like my cousins who came under her, none of them have successful relationships. None of them have successful marriages. They get married and they don't stay married long. They're not very functioning on jobs and stuff like that. But that side of the family is really, anti-male, and the men are anti-women. But I didn't recognize that until literally watching from those Facebook groups. I said, so this is what was going on in the family that I couldn't really piece it together, why everybody was at odds, why like some of the men on that side of the family didn't marry the women they had children with, and why some of the women on that side of the family didn't like men. But they were also very, very Western. And my dad's side of the family didn't come from a black Western culture.
See, you sound like you was lucky. You had an advantage of growing up, as you're saying, in a house where these talks and the black foundation was second nature, which is again a rare situation that you're finding. Like I came from a 2-parent family, mom and dad still together now, 40 odd years, and yeah, I mean, there's definitely key advantages to coming from that kind of situation. It lays a different kind of foundation. But one thing I noticed in the chat here that people keep talking about, which I want to deal with, is this separation of. I'm always like we know the black woman and the black man have both been under attack, and I just think it's always gonna be a losing battle if you try and come at this problem from the stance of I'm gonna tell, as you said earlier, I'm gonna tell the black woman what her problem is, and then as a black man, I'm just gonna take a step back and wait for the problem to be fixed. Like I think that's never gonna work out. I think the place of healing has to come from you and the woman healing at the same time. You have to lay down a premise of understanding her plight, what she's gone through, in order for her to then either receive or reject what you're laying out and whether or not you can actually heal together. What does the panel have to say on that one?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you just stated, but I think part of the problem too is, which I haven't heard this part of it yet, is that the reason why a lot of relationships doesn't work out between a black woman and a black man is because the woman friends are melanin into the business, or even that woman is confided in her friend about the relationships and all of these bad advice that is given to that woman in the black relationship. She end up using that against him, and therefore that's why there's I mean, we hear there are songs out about, that's why your friend is single. If she don't have no man, treat me as an individual. And I just think as a black woman, we struggle with just trying to figure things out on our own. I don't see nothing wrong with maybe seeking maybe a little bit of advice, but just running and telling your friends and family and cousins, auntie, mama, grandmother, big mama, what's going on in your household does destroy the relationship, because that person is only going to give you their perspective from their childhood, from their experiences. And sometimes if that person is biased and doesn't like your man or your husband, that type of information is used against the relationship instead of just kind of figuring it out on your own. So that's part of the problem that I'm seeing that black women are having with black men. And even if there is a disagreement within the union, if the friend doesn't agree with what the black man is saying, it ain't the fact that you're hearing it from that black woman, you're hearing it from that friend. You know what I mean? So you're dealing with multiple personalities when you have a discourse, with your significant other when it comes to relationships. And I just think as black women, we need to learn how to look within instead of outward, because all the answers is inside of us, and I just wanted to put that information out there.
I want to say this. I think that we got to take a look at it from this aspect too. This is a way of looking at it as well. The black woman is beyond talking to for multiple reasons. Growing up, the majority of our households was ran by Big Mom, Grandmom. Grandmom held the family down, whether in the Americas, parts of the Caribbean, and talking to you, Richie, even over in the UK, Grandma, Big Mama was holding it down. There has been multiple generations of not having that strong authoritative male figure inside the household, where Big Mama, great grandmom held it down, Big Mama held it down, and then Mama held it down. So we black men and women, we've been affected by that. And because of that, black men don't know male leadership or know how to be an authoritative figure. We wait for women to lead because we growing up in houses where, for the most part, where women has always been leading. And a woman, she doesn't know how to relinquish any of that type of power over to you or see you as an authoritative figure because she never seen a man for the most part. This is not everybody, but this is a lot of us within our culture because this was the warfare that was declared. Big Mama wasn't supposed to be the head of the household or running the house like that. Grandpa was supposed to be there with her. But for the most part, it was Big Mama. And I can give y'all a short story just with me, right? I was raised by my father and I had male authoritative figures in my family. I was blessed to, but I also had, but a lot of them started to die off, early. And my grandmoms and my aunties and them was running the show. And one of my daughters got pregnant real young. And I was trying to make her have it. I said, listen, you want to be adult? You want to do make adult decisions? This is something that you're gonna have to learn to deal with. We don't do abortions over here. Man, when she got away from me, I basically got outpowered and outvoted by the higher ups of the women in the family. And they end up having more influence, over to the point where it just, but that's because there hasn't been an authoritative figure to the point where, I'm her father. But her mom, my aunts, my sisters, and damn near even my wife, everybody went against me at the end. And it was that's just the way it went because they didn't see me. They listened to me in other aspects, but when it came to this, it didn't work out. And these are the issues that we have, and I still haven't forgotten that. But me and my wisdom and my knowledge now understand where it comes from. So I rest on that.
And I'll add on to that too. Also, one of the things that I look at too is not as not necessarily that it's the fact that that she's always been ruling by herself. Because I think even with a man, I think pretty much you're gonna give her that as her kingdom. You see what I'm saying? It'll be other stuff that you would control, but as far as the household, you know what I'm saying? We all seem to have an understanding that's pretty much their kingdom. That's pretty much something that they run. I think that's just like even when you lay down laws, you know what I'm saying? Usually your law is pushed through her. You know what I'm saying? You're not there all the time to make sure that your law is being instituted, but she's there. So as long as she's there, she's instituting your law, then you're still it's you know what I'm saying? You're still on some type of equal playing field. I think what could truly help is what we really got to try to figure out is how do we get each other to understand that we are right now at a disadvantage in this system, and that we are at war with this system, and that the stories that we are telling are not recreating us into a prominent position, you know what I mean, in society. So it's like, or not even just in this society, but even if we want to move on to the next system, it's like, what are we doing now as far as men and women in order to make sure that when the next system comes up, or whatever we're doing, that we're prepared mentally to whether it's fight or do whatever we have to do. And how do we get the women to realize what we're realizing, or even for women to get men to realize what they're realizing?
May I interject?
Go true, my dear.
You know, one thing that I see that like I really wish that there was a way that we could get past this. We're in competition with each other and this fight. I really don't know how we can get past that stage because we're never going to work together if we feel like if you feel like I'm always taking shots at your manhood and I feel like you're taking shots at my womanhood all the time. I'm never going to respect you and I'm never going to work with you, and vice versa. Like, I just don't know what it's going to take for us to just say, okay, we're mad, we're bruised, we're battered, we're hurt, we're in this system, but literally all we have is each other. So let's figure this, let's figure this shit out. I cannot, beyond me, because I've even had to, like, just in trying to have conversations, like, I can take criticism. I can take, the criticism that, a lot of men want to give me, like for women that I don't know anything about, or, a lifestyle that I don't, know about. Men will come on to my page and say, oh, well, you women do this and you guys chose welfare and you did this and like literally personally blaming me for, whatever failures they've experienced or whatever they've heard or lived vicariously through YouTube. And, it's it's fine. I'll take it and we'll, we can converse about it. But what I've noticed is when I give that just a little bit of pushback, and I understand that men do have egos, and I do respect the male strength dynamic and I respect the ego. But I wonder why is it that men don't respect not all men, but a lot of times men don't give an account for that with us. Like, I can take the bullshit because I don't give a damn about what people who don't know me say about me, and about how they, try to paint this picture of all black women being one way. But a lot of women aren't built like that. And I see a lot of men attacking them with stuff like, how is it that a 25-year-old man is telling a 26, 27-year-old woman that, she went on that you black woman back in went to Oprah's show in the 80s and dissed black men. So this is why I'm dissing you. Like, some of the shit that we do is just nonsensical. Like, none of these motherfuckers were born. Like, a lot of this fighting that we're doing is literally the fights of the elders that never got resolved or was never understood. So if there was a way that we could just start fresh and stop with the bullshit. Like, yesterday when I was talking about the situation with that's going on in Uganda with the Chinese men going over there and, marrying up the women. And the point that I was trying to make, I used a correlation where the Ugandan officials admitted that they were happy that, the Chinese had came there, invested in the economy, were building the infrastructure, were, boosting the economy and building businesses and stuff like that. They like that. But they don't like the fact that what came along with that was the marriages and the children between the Asian men and the African women. And so they're complaining about 1 million marriages between Asians and Africans, and how these women are bad wenching. And I get it, because I'm not with the bad wench shit, and I'm not with the swirl shit. But what I am is a student of history and someone who tries to contextually understand what's happening here. Just like black men love to tell us that black women chose welfare and lost their men, when I made the point that the Ugandan officials chose the money and the built infrastructure and conceded their women, now all of a sudden I'm anti-male because I've made a criticism. Because it is my opinion that those women should have never been available, because those Chinese men did not bring their women with them. So when you took, they took measures to protect their women. They came and they gave you the bread and you got what you wanted, and now they take your women. And now the understanding is that, the women are at fault when not recognizing the fact that you should have never took their money.
Well, you know what? Let me say something to that. I think this goes back to the point of the economic slavery that we find ourselves in, and where, again, they've set up a narrative for there to be natural conflict, because, again, that economics is what is causing the disparity between the male and the female, whether it's the black man's not making enough money, or you guys, or like in that situation in Africa, they're paying or investing in the economy. And again, one thing you got to realize with them Chinese, they're in it for the long game. They want rights to the land. So they've already peeped it that whatever the unlimited investment short term they're putting in, if they marry into the land itself, the culture, the people, in 2-3 generations, they'll have an actual right to those places, rather than it be something that is an investment from another country. They will have ancestral rights. That's how they're looking at it. That's their plan, which again tells you the power of this economic situation that they're putting out there on us. And again, that's why I say for you to get to a place with your woman in this day and age, most of the time, especially if you're anything from the ages, I would say 25 to 35, 40. Yeah, most of the time, your woman, if she's the similar age, she's probably going to be earning more money than you. She might save more money than you. It depends. It's not always the case, but majority of the time, that's going to be the way. So you're going to have a real conversation about economic value as opposed to the value you place in each other and each other's attributes in how you can build from that point onward. Because if there's no value system placed in used to as individuals and what you can bring to the table and build together and all the rest of it, it's not going to work out. You're going to get into those conflicts or competitions, like you're saying, where again, the man is going to be demasculated because he can't provide certain things. And the woman is going to feel frustrated because she is providing certain things. And maybe she doesn't feel like the man's bringing certain things to the table. So for me, that's going to be one of the biggest conversations or things you're going to have to deal with in its initial inception from the time you get together. And again, just having a conversation about finances is a hard one to have from a male's point of view with a woman, where you say, okay, babes, this is why I got, this is why I earn, or whatever the case may be. And the same for a woman in this society, because again, you're looked at as sucker if you talk about finances with your woman. You're looked at as sucker if you trust your man with your finances. This is again another mixed message that they're pumping into your head to make it even harder to come together and have a real conversation to set the tone for future movements. King,
Hey, Rick, listen.
go on.
Let me jump in real quick. Yeah. See, I'm reading the comments in the chat, man, and this is the problem, man. Like, listen, on this panel right now, if you notice how calm it is, these are more people that are mentally stable, consciously aware of what's going on, brothers and sisters. We brothers putting in a thing where Black women suffer from entitlement. A lot of the issues that you guys are saying, we already know. So what we're trying to speak on now is the culprit behind it and how can we fix it. We ain't doing that. Like we got enough channels that do that. That's never gotten us anywhere. We know that we got a lot of Black women that's entitled. I spoke to that based off of what the system has done. But now Sister Nala says something that was very important, and a lot of you niggas missed it because y'all get too emotional. Y'all not listening. She said that in China, when they did the deals in Uganda for the Chinese to come over, they did not bring their women. They started marrying. What the Africans didn't do was protect their women from this happening. But the Chinese make sure that they don't have other nations coming into their nations where their women can be vulnerable to it. We've lost our understanding of the role of what it is that we're supposed to do. I remember when I was young, when your sister got a boyfriend, the dad had to meet him. You got to go through that mail. We don't, because we've been ravished, Africa's been ravished and destroyed, our culture's been destroyed. The man no longer stands at the doorstep where we dictate the terms and we can protect our women from foreign invaders coming in and our women being susceptible to them. This is the part that you brothers are missing in what she's trying to tell you. And see, as men, we gotta get back to thinking as rulers and leaders. I don't want to hear in the chat room, but the women, listen, we already know what the women is doing. You niggas need to listen to what I'm telling you. We need to get back to thinking as rulers and leaders like other groups do. See, the Chinese are coming with men and they'll fuck the shit out of the African woman like crazy, but they won't let you do that to their women. This is what I'm saying. So we have to get back to that understanding. So now there's been a lot of poverty created in Africa to the point where these people are coming in with all kinds of gifts and money and all kinds of things. And a lot of these women are looking for a way out because Africa's been destroyed. Is the reason why they coming in with their money. So I think that we got to learn how to listen to each other, man, and understand what our roles are. I don't need you in the chat room saying what the woman is doing. We already know what the woman is doing in America. That's why we having a goddamn conversation. Now we're trying to figure out solutions on how we can get back to fix the problem. We don't want to turn this into those other platforms. So get out of here with the emotional shit and come in with solutions, please.
I'm gonna say this though. And it's not, you know what I'm saying? It's not just not to like disagree like that. But when I look at that situation, I kind of see that as a bad example, just for the simple fact of it's as if I make a bad investment and you know what I'm saying, and I'm thinking that everything is good and it turns out that I lose in this investment. Does that mean that my wife is gonna leave me for the man that, you know what I'm saying, that beat me out?
Let me get that, bro. Let me get that. Let me explain to you because maybe I didn't divide it right. Okay, when I was speaking on this, I really wasn't speaking from the very basic social level. I was speaking in terms of warfare. And like I said, I'm a student of history. So when we are analyzing nations, I like to study both sides, the loser and the victor. And what you see in every war, some of the first things that are secured are the resources, the land, the women, and the children. Once it gets to the point where the women and the children are compromised, that is the mark of a defeated army, of a defeated, the men have been neutralized. Once the women and the children are vulnerable to other nations, you've already lost. Once the other nation can come in and lay stake and claim in your land. Once they're feeding you, and it wasn't about, I understand that whole, you're going there with the, if I can't provide for my woman, then somebody else will. That's like completely outside of the example and of the conversation contextually that I'm trying to give you. Like, we all will sit up here all day and say we're at war, or that the Chinese are colonizing. Understand what colonizing really is. They're over there now, 1 million strong, Asians. They're over there now where they've got signs up with their languages and not African languages. They have African women speaking in their tongue. These are defeated men we're talking about. When the women are available and vulnerable, that is the mark of men that have been neutralized. And I'm not saying that for people to get in their feelings or to be disrespectful. This is just the fact. This is what happens during war. And the only reason why I brought it up is because it is exactly what is happening.
Facts. He's talking real talk. Hey, Solomaya. Where's Solomaya?
He went to sleep.
He needs to wake up because I hear Solomaya always bringing problems. I want to hear his solutions. And King, who's this King, brother? Is your mic unmuted?
King Devon.
What's his name? King. Oh yeah, that's all I see is King.
King Devon. You there?
They'll come back.
Yeah, they need to.
Yeah. I'll see this. I'll say this. I'll say this. I think that it goes back to what I'm saying. See, what happens is this, man, and I want everybody to understand. I think that a lot of times when me and Rich and a lot of us, Richie, start talking about the black man's role and male accountability, because we're getting beat down overtly so much here in America, and we're seeing the women get so many different rights from the system. A lot of times when we speak the way we speak, it seems like we're letting the woman off the hook. No, we're not letting off the women off the hook. A lot of our men was never raised around men, and they don't understand warfare. And I'm telling black men, listen, and I'm just gonna say it. Women, when it comes to protection, are supposed to be led and look to us for strength and guidance. So we're supposed to be in power. We're supposed to stand at the doorstep of the community. We have been neutralized, and we haven't been at the doorstep of the community for a very long time. So we don't understand those roles. So when I'm saying what I'm saying, I'm not saying that the woman is not without accountability, but how can we hold the woman accountable if we're not in power? We got to get back in power. Other nations don't just listen. I keep telling y'all, the black woman in America is the most accessible woman. Anybody can fuck a black woman, anybody, but she's not protected by her king. We ain't at the doorstep. We're neutralized in so many different aspects. And these are the things that we got to begin to understand as black men. If we want to get back to fix the things that we complaining about, we gotta figure out what it is that we're doing as men first, and begin to mobilize, and think as leaders.
So I'm gonna ask you this: who's getting ready to raise up the next generation?
Yeah, but that's very easy. You already know the question. So now once you can ask that question, what I need you to do in your mind is this: why is that happening? That's an aspect of warfare, because there's another man that created that system that's forcing that. And once we understand that, it's really for real. I'm gonna be real with you. Once we know this, right? It's idiotic for us as men to say, okay, we know that the woman is raising that, but now why is the woman being forced to do that when there's other men here? What's the problem? We gotta fix that problem, because we can clearly see it. Why ignore it and then say, okay, with a woman, the only way we can fix the mind of a woman is if I can get you out of the blue, Black Ice, Silver Mind, King Devon, Lens Vortex, when we start loving each other as black men and saying, this is what we want, this is what we need, we're going to logically and forcefully create this. So now the women that will listen will come with us. The ones that won't, they left by the wayside.
But George, it's hard when being a black woman, and I raised my son as a single mother. Due to the circumstances of my son's father was running in and out of jail because he was in the drug game or whatnot. So it's hard even for me to go from independent to me now allowing my man to run the household or the relationship, because I have to switch roles in between everything. So, and that's part of the problem of what's going on with our generation and our parents' generation. Our parents' generation, a lot of them got caught up with the Vietnam War. And then if they didn't get caught up with that or drafted with the Vietnam War, then that's when they got caught up with the crack. And then if they didn't get caught up with the crack, it's always some type of propaganda that the government is doing to attack the black family. So if they didn't get caught up with the Vietnam War, then they didn't get caught up with the crack. Then if they lose their job, then they got caught up with the welfare system, which is another government program. So the government is there to keep us apart, to keep us divided. And then in return, black women is ranked #1 in this nation to go and get their college degree. Why is that? Because the government is more inclined to help the black woman get educated than the black man. And then when we do get that education, then that's when we want to say, okay, now I'm ready to get married. But then because they have put so much emphasis on being independent, then even without that woman having any kids out of wedlock, that may not even be the case. She still had that independent mindset. So when she do get in a relationship with a brother that can't produce the same income or whatnot, or they got some type of hiccup because of how they were brought up, then that's when the destroyed of the black family comes in at. So it's a lot of governmental programs that are against us as the black family, period. And I get what you're saying, because I even posed the question in the chat room: what if there ain't no man for me to take my man to meet my father, so my father could say, yeah, I think he would be a good catch for you? I mean, a lot of us women don't even have that. We don't even have our uncles and just the black male role model, because all of them either dead or they've been on crack, or they got caught up in the AIDS thing, or they got removed from the welfare, due to the welfare system. So what is the solution as far as a woman bringing home that man to meet the family member, for the family member to say, yeah, I think he's a good catch? Because you put that out there like 10 minutes ago, but I'm not hearing the counterpart of that.
Okay, may I? May I? Hello?
Go ahead, brother.
We can
Oh,
hear you, brother.
okay, cool. Oh, thank you for the opportunity. Yeah, my name Devon, King Devon, I'm from the Caribbean, most Grenada to be frank. And it's not just Africa that the Chinese are taking over. They're also hitting the Caribbean too, and buying out our politicians and just they're getting more privilege than the people that born and grew up in the country. So I look at it from a different perspective. I look at it from this is more spiritual than physical. Yeah. And they know that. That's why they break us down spiritually in slavery, mentally and psychologically. And then they take away all of our cultures. Yeah. Because our ancestors used to fight spiritually, not, you know. But what is happening now is that they have, they have win by in the sense of tearing the family apart, causing confusion in the family. And the reason and the way how they do that is that they went into the homes and pull out all the strong men or make the women come against the men. And based on how the women behaved, some of the men leave the home. So there was no male structure in the home. So what we are seeing now is that a lot of families are growing up with only mothers, and there is no strong black man there to say. When I say black man, I mean strong, righteous black man. What you find is a lot of men chasing after wealth. Who wants to be rich? Who wants big house? Yeah, that is all good and well. But the love for yourself and your people comes first because we are here to help each other. We are here to grow each other. We are here to look out for each other. But what they did is that they have created a condition where we have to always be in a survival mood. And in that survival mood that they are created in our mind, we have to kill one another, fight one another just to survive. And they have created that atmosphere for us. That's why we always at the bottom. That's why they keep us at the bottom, keep fighting for the scrums with one another. So it's very hard for us to come together as one. And not that we cannot, but what they do is that they make our conditions so despicable that all we can see is our condition. We don't see the value in ourselves. We don't see how powerful we are. We don't see how we better than them. We don't see that. All we see is I need to survive. I need to eat. I need to pay my rent. I need to pay this. And what they do, they introduce school. So what they're doing is that educating more slaves to go back on the plantation, what they call corporate America to work. But it's the same system. We have to look at the system. The system is created to keep us where we are. It wasn't created for us. It was created against us. So what we are going through and what gets me angry is that we are fighting to go and get their degree. We are fighting to qualify in their culture. That is what I'm getting confused with. And we don't even know ours. We don't even know who the hell we are.
We don't talk.
But we are fighting to, oh, I gotta get my PhD and I gotta really. I know you come out of school with all these accolades and you don't even know who you are, what's your nationality, nothing about you. Because all they taught you in these schools is about them. That's all they do. And that's how they keep us where we are. So they keep us from not learning who we are by continuing teaching us their culture. They know about us. They know how powerful that we are. They know how strong we are. And they also know keeping us apart is how they're going to control us mentally. This thing is a mental game. But some of us are so far gone. We cannot see it. A lot of us are not awoke to see the tricks of the enemy. And we think it's our brother. We think it's our sister. And we blame all the sisters. No, we all in the same boat, but we're just coming from different direction. Because they realize that the woman, they know that because they study us. Don't get it twisted. They study us. They know that the man have a weakness to the woman. So if I target the woman, I can get to the man. Because once the woman is unstable, the house is unstable. So they learn all of that by studying us. And what they do, they implement it. They give us welfare. They give us food stamp, etc., etc. Because I don't need a man anymore. I have my food stamp. But we are forgetting the morals, values of who we are and why we are here.
No doubt. Real talk.
I think real quick, just real quick. I think that when you listen to us talk, like my brother Out of the Blue, Sci-Fi, me, Sister Nava, we all basically saying the same thing, but the brother that was just speaking hit it on the head. We're being forced into a culture, and for generations we've been integrated and raised to a culture that don't belong to us. And I think that way the white male thinks and views his woman, we don't view our women that way. So even when we in leadership positions, we still see our women as somewhat equal to us. And I think within the DNA, even though we don't understand our culture, we still look at our woman to listen, baby, I'm doing this. You got to get on board. You got to fix this, because we see our women different from them. We are still different people from them. And we're still trying to operate in our natural way, but consciously and mentally, we become these people that we've been forced into, if you understand what I'm trying to say. So as we're educated by them, we're all, I mean, just we have their names, our language, everything. And this is the problem. So I think that because of the way we see our women and view our women, in my opinion, and what I've seen, our women is not going to just wake up out of this zombie-like mind state, because she's been in this culture for generations and integrated into this culture. I just think that as the men, once we understand this and understand the warfare, like the brother's saying, with the education and everything, we got to try to figure out how to get land and create realities to take our women out of it, where she can function in her right mind, independent of the system. And then we can get back to operating the way, because I believe that we always want to, we look to our women as somewhat equal to us, just in a different capacity. I don't think the white man look at his woman as that way. So when a brother Out of the Blue speak the way he speak, I understand, like, yo, she got to figure out she's raising the children. And I understand why we see our women that way. But, you know, we just a different people being forced into a different culture that don't belong to us. So I just think as men, we got to figure this shit out, because I don't disagree with the stance that Solomon take or the stance that Out of the Blue take. I understand what the brothers are saying, but I just want them to understand that we are a people of a different culture being forced and integrated into a culture that don't belong to us. So you see all kinds of chaos. All right.
See, when I say though, when I was making a statement like I'm making, that's just like, okay, that's just like my son, right? All my babies are breastfed. They pay me no damn attention. You know what I'm saying? They really, they hardly, I mean, unless they need something, they don't pay me really no attention. You know what I mean? They don't really have much to do with it. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. He follows things that I do, and he picks up certain habits that I have. But in turn of him learning anything, he's learning from his mom. You know what I'm saying? She's teaching them different songs. She's teaching them these different stories. She's teaching them these things. And it's really kind of combating against me and what I'm trying to teach them, because I'm trying to raise, you know what I'm saying? Because I understand that this system is hurting us. We both, what has to happen is we both have to come to a mindset that this right here is not for us. We need to be getting out of here. And a lot of the times the women that we're dealing with, they're not really thinking about leaving this system.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They're thinking about.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying? They're coming up in education and they looking at you like, why you can't be as educated as I am? I went to the same school you went to. And the issue isn't that you're educated. The issue is that we're only empowering this system. The more we get educated, the more this system flourishes. All of our ideas and thoughts and all of that, it only helps build this system up in this country. You see what I'm saying? And it's like that's just like when and this ain't no shot at nobody, but that's just like when I had to separate myself from being in the Kemetic culture, because I'm looking like, well, damn, everything is nothing is about preparing yourself or taking over or creating a new system. Everything is about you coming up in this, and that's just not gonna happen. We might come up individually in this system, but as a whole, that's not even a possibility.
Yeah, need to come up as a nation.
Exactly.
Yeah, you know, I think the title of this live stream was "Is the Woman Above Critique?" I think it was in that context. You know, it was worded a little differently.
That's right. We want to hear your solutions. By the time you came back to us. Listen.
Now I was listening the whole time. I heard George Megan said I was sleeping, all that. I was listening. I was just doing something. I was, you know, setting up something, you know, because a couple of people was calling me with the debates. So I was setting on that. But yeah, in America, yes, I would say she is above critique. Because I think that when you look at, you know, the situation as what the brother was just elaborating on. Okay, we already know what the situation is as far as what happened and how we oppressed and how we mentally conditioned. And we went through college courses of that with the last generation. Amos Wilson broke down the economics. Khalid Muhammad broke down the political. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody, we know this now, you know? So what we talking about now is making a change and restructuring our thinking. And what I find to be one of the problems is that for the most part, when you have a man trying to implement certain things that is against the overall system, you get a backlash from the female. Because that's what Brother Blue out the blue was just saying. Like, she's so accustomed to dealing with certain things from a Western standpoint. And it's hard for her to trust in the man. And that is a problem. That is a problem that has to be addressed. Can't overlook that. You know what I'm saying? So I think that is one of the issues that we're talking about as far as being on the same page. We're not on the same page as a family, because once again, that's what the brother was saying. You know, I done heard, you know, countless of fathers say this. I'm teaching my son one thing, and then he's being deprogrammed by his mother. How are we going to progress if we're not on the same page? I don't want to hear like, oh yeah, when the black men get it together, like you really banking on that shit? You really banking on that when we get it together, she's just gonna, and I wouldn't even want that anyway. I wouldn't even want that she's gonna be like, you know, kind of like in limbo, and when I get it together, she's gonna follow me. You know why? Because she's still not mentally ready to deal with this shit.
True.
She's still not gonna be mentally ready to deal with this shit. Like, so even when we get it together and she's just following, like, you know what I'm saying? And she's still turning around looking at the reality shows behind my back, but she's still listening to everything I'm saying. But like, she's still not mentally ready to deal with the system. So even from that logical standpoint, it doesn't make any sense to try to suggest that, well, all of a sudden when the black men get it together, and I say that in quotes, like, you know, that she's just gonna follow along. Like we expect her to just follow. No, I want a thinking black woman. I want a black woman that's analyzing shit. She got my back. She understands shit. So we're not gonna do it without her. So this has to be talked about. She got to understand how we're moving so we can all move in cohesion. That's like, you know what I mean? I don't see why, you know, this is an issue.
Well, Solomon, let me ask you this here. Like, okay, we're all talking it, but in real time, as a man who I think you're in a relationship, yeah, I mean, I could be assuming, but you interact with black women. How does that look when you've selected your female, you know you want to spend time with her and go long distance? How do you implement what you're saying in real time? Like in your head, how does that look? What's the plan? Because earlier on, I was saying, look, you have to explain to her that you see what she's gone through in order to set the tone for her to even understand that you get it. And now can we receive each other on a certain level. But how does that look in real time to you?
Well, first you gotta lead by example. She gotta see that you're really for real about it. That's first and foremost. Secondly, you gotta constantly communicate with her and get her involved in what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, she got to be a part of your shit. Like, she got to be a part of your life. Like, so when she's doing those things, she's going to get acclimated. She's going to get acclimated naturally. But what I find a lot of times is that a lot of women, they tend to not even be concerned about what he's doing outside of the shit that she kind of wants him to do. Like, if it's some shit like, the farthest I see a chick go, maybe she watch sports with the brother or whatever, but she tends to not even be interested or want to be interested in what he's doing and vice versa. You know, so it's kind of like you gotta bring her in on what you're doing, make her be involved in what you're doing, so she can understand where your mind is at. That way she can understand how you're moving. So that's what I would say.
Okay, can I just jump in here?
Jump in, brother.
I understand what the brother just said, but I'm not totally agree with you, because you see, sometimes we try to fight spiritual battle with physical artillery, and it just cannot work. She might be there with you, going along with you, but a spirit may be somewhere else. And to you, she's getting it right. And then coming to find out when you get there, she's seeing the whole ship, because her spirit is thinking of the things that she's accustomed to. Yeah. So first of all, we have to make sure their spirit is in the same place as our spirit. Because don't make no mistake, we are spiritual being first. Yeah. So she might see what you're doing and she's along with you, but her spirit is elsewhere. Her spirit with the thing that she's familiar with then, even though she's doing it with you there.
Which I agree 100%. I believe that it is a spiritual battle. Hold on a second. I believe that it is a spiritual battle, but I think the spiritual part comes in the stories that we are telling. You see what I'm saying? We're not being prepared. This is a spiritual warfare. We're not being prepared for spiritual warfare, though, because the way that, you know what I'm saying, we're being raised a certain way with a certain mentality. And we're seeing that that these stories that are being told to the kids aren't helping. We're seeing that, but for some reason she's not seeing that. That's why I eliminate. I mean, I don't know who, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to disrespect nobody who believes in the New Testament, but I separate myself from that. That's part of the reason, because as opposed to you giving me a story about a man and a wife, you give me a story about a man with a wife who his wife had a baby by a guy. You see what I'm saying? And he really don't have any, you know what I'm saying, any control over that baby. And it's not giving us a story as opposed to of the woman and the man and the woman being together. We're not getting those examples in our religion. We're not getting those examples in any of that. That's just like the Torah teaches us that it took a feminine principle as well as the masculine principle in order to create all things that we see today. It tells us that wisdom, you know what I'm saying? That wisdom which was the female principle. That's what came together with Yah and his word, and that's what created everything. But if we're not feeding them that story and we just giving them it's a man's world, then we're not understanding the balance. And we putting we putting everything on us when it's like it's a serious, we don't really see the balance. It's like you work, your job is almost damn near almost more than important than mine, because though I'm doing things physically, my son sees me do things physically. You see what I'm saying? But what she instills in him, that's in his heart, that's in his mind, that's in his soul. You see what I'm saying? So if he see me walking against Jesus, but all she putting in his heart is Jesus, then he ain't gonna never follow me. You see what I'm saying? And he ain't never gonna be prepared to be a warrior that she needs. So it's like you gotta establish, number one, what the woman has to establish, what does she want? You see what I'm saying? What kind of man do you want in life? So once you pick out what kind of man you want, you know what kind of man you need to raise. You see what I'm saying? We can't keep raising men that we don't want our damn selves. That don't work.
I agree with that, but again, it goes back to what we've been saying. It's a part of the system. Those the same women, me, all of us are being raised up in this system. We can't throw that out. Like, we can't just say, okay, well, okay, why is the woman is beyond talking to? First thing I had to do as a man is use my intellect. Why is she beyond talking to? So once I do investigate and find out why she's beyond talking to and what the fuck her problem is, I'm gonna know that her name is Cheryl Gibson, but she calls herself African American or Aboriginal. She ain't, but she speaks English. She has these names. She don't know anything about her culture, anything. So she's not going to behave based off the standard of what I think she should behave, because now I'm woke. I understand that, and then I will have to understand, well, where did this come from? How did it happen? So for me, when we had these conversations, I'm on board with what the brothers are saying, because I just told y'all stories of how I got undermined. I get undermined in my house at times by my wife, but I understand the culture of what we being up against, because I consider myself a leader and a ruler, and I understand what's happening and why. The same way I had, my name is fucking George Macon and I'm speaking English. She's not going to think the way that we think that she should think right now based off the circumstances that we're in. So we're going to have to try to figure things out together. I understand what my brother out of the blue is saying, but I need the brother to understand that, listen, this ain't our culture. War was declared on us and on her mind. War declared on her mind. She doesn't own her mind. That's the fucked up part. Black women in America do not own the mind that they have.
True.
Let me speak. Listen, let me speak. Sorry. Let me just say something quickly, and then everyone can go in. This spiritual aspect of the warfare, yeah, is definitely on and popping. But we gotta understand, to every unseen principle, there's a seen principle. So this is where we gotta understand that economic attack, that money is acting as your spiritual currency. That's where they're draining you on that real side of the game, but it takes away from your spirit. Yeah, as far as your character, your personality, what you have to offer. So again, we gotta understand where the attacks are coming from. I agree with the brothers when they're talking about spirituality and spiritual attacks and understanding the nature of this war that we're trapped in. But there's definitely seen principles and seen aspects that represent that spiritual attack. And as far as religion goes, let me just say this, because Lex Vortex is in the chat right now going mad. Yeah, shout out to Lex. Yeah, because I don't want to bring him on because I'm going to say this on air because I don't want any argument. And I know he comes hard. And for me, I'm going to say this to the panel as well, because I heard the brother just talking on a religious aspect. For me, I don't really want to hear the religion thing. There's principles that, again, have been taken from our cultural and spiritual legacy and history, and they've been customized into what we're calling Christianity, Islam, whatever. And it's cool to make reference to them, but for me, it's a wind-up. Because if you're going to mention shit like that, let's go chronological, go back to the fucking source. Yeah, so that's my viewpoint on it, and that's why I kind of get a bit funny when I hear religious terminologies, the Jesuses, the whatever. But understanding the difference between spirituality and religion is a must, because as black people, we need spirituality. If you don't have spirituality, you're dead. Yeah, you're dead. So I definitely in agreement with that. Sister, I know you wanted to say something, Naya.
Oh, I just want to say a couple of things. I hear this a lot, and I have to, like, the best comparison, because with my own generation, people have their issues or whatever, but I really like to reach back into in the past to compare this time to what is going on now. And I'm with you on that. I just don't think that everything is spiritual. I just don't. Some of this is natural. I want to say most of this is a natural occurrence. A lot of the battle that we have is literally in our mind as well. We have to admit, sometimes some of us are just fucking dumb, and are just not very cognitive in thought, and have literally trapped our minds just as bad as the system of white supremacy is trapping it. When we talk about Like I look back at my father, even my grandfather's generation. My grandfather came over here from Cuba, not accepted, a nappy-headed, jet black, dark-skinned black man that could not speak English, right? And came here and was able to start a business and pay for his kids' college and start businesses that have thrived through 3 generations. My other grandfather, also illiterate but born here, was able to start a business and actually from what I understand, by the mid 80s, he had actually earned 7 figures. And these were men that came up during Jim Crow, that like literally like started off from the bottom, that also had wives who would be the equivalent to what the younger generation wants to complain about. My grandmothers and my mother watched All My Children, One Life to Live, Young and the Restless. They ordered Avon makeup. Even my Cuban grandmother would buy a wig or two every once in a while. They did all the things that women are doing now, and they lived under the system that we live under now, under worse circumstances. But yet I've never seen, the degree of, odds that the men and the women are having this battle and this fight about, like now it's, oh, because she watches television, she's stupid, or because she's in a Western society and she has a Western mindset. Why is it that our men don't realize that they also have that Western mindset? Why is it that we don't, we're not understanding that many of them also are operating in a Western mindset without even understanding it? Because a lot of the relationship, a lot of the relationship dynamics that we have in front of us have the Western example, because that is the only example that a lot of us know. Because even though, my father, he's the goddamn man, no matter where he goes, on the block, wherever he is, my dad is respected. Niggas bow down to him because he's about his business. But he didn't have a problem. Like when my mother stood up to him because shit didn't sound right to her, or she had an opinion, his manhood wasn't challenged or so fragile that it fell to the wayside because she disagreed with him or she didn't want to hear the shit today. And like what I'm hearing is a lot of diminishing of like female intellect. Like, how is it that women can't see through this system, but you did, but you guys can't? How is it that women are operating in a Western society with the Western mindset, but we think that black men aren't? Can someone help me with that?
Well, let me tap in on that. When we are talking about this, that's not at all what we're saying. That's just like we're talking about brothers that we would say have come into this and they're in a fight with it. That's just like the sister who came on earlier and explained to us the kind of stories that she got from her mama. Her mom doesn't fall in that category, so I wouldn't therefore be talking about her mom. The point that we're making is that when we are coming into relationships and we are trying to challenge the system ourselves by planting seeds and continuing to go, she's not planting that seed. That's the only job. My job is to start it up. My job is to bring forth the information. When I give her the seed to plant those, she's not planting it. You see what I'm saying? She's planting the seed that goes opposite of that. Then we go 10 years down the line and he come up the same way and we in the same predicament and ain't nobody ready to fight. We're not being
right,
ready
and
that's
that's a good point. But that's also, we have to recognize that sometimes, you lead by example and all that kind of stuff. Like mines can tell, I will follow mine with a blindfold on because I know where the fuck we going. Because why do I know where we're going? Because he's proven where we're going. Because I can trust in his leadership. Because I know this nigga got me. And that is not the example that a lot of women have. That is why I don't have mistrust for men. That is why I don't hate black men, because the black men of my cloth have not failed me. But I have to recognize that that is not the dynamic that a lot of women have, and we have to deal with that. We have to, like, we consistently, just like I consistently had to prove to, like, if you've had fucked up real relationships with women, and you've seen your mother be untrustworthy, and your aunts and women that you've dealt with, then if I want to be with you, I'm in a constant battle to reassure you that I got you. And once I've reassured you that I got you, then you can relax, right? It's the same
Okay.
thing with women. Women are not going to follow men who have not set a proven, a proven, track record. And a lot of times men will say, "Oh, well, I shouldn't have to do anything. I shouldn't have to prove anything to you." But then we get outside of what's natural. We're supposed to gravitate towards men that can, make provisions, that can make decisions that we can trust. Because I can't relinquish control or the reins to someone, or relinquish, my role, and allow you to lead me unless you have proven that you know where the fuck you're going. So
I
a lot
think
of times when I
That
hear men
statement in
say,
itself shows the problem.
I
What?
think
So in
That,
the
sta-
system,
that statement in itself shows the problem.
the problem
hold on,
for
hold
who
on.
though? Someone who
Like,
doesn't
like, I,
have the issues
like,
that you
like she
guys are
said,
talking about?
what she said was that me relinquishing to you and allowing you to lead me. That's the
Yeah, it's a
problem.
choice. No, that's not a choice, because
Like,
everybody
like,
makes the
like, like,
conscious
I
decision to
think,
choose.
but because when you look at other cultures, that's not a conversation being had about who's going to lead who.
Right,
It's
because
already
other
there.
cultures don't have
So,
our
so, so,
issues.
so,
Other cultures
but
aren't
the
fighting our
thing,
dynamics. That's why.
I'll let you
Other
finish this.
cultures
I'll let
aren't
you finish.
seeing that dynamic. But we're dealing with our culture.
All right, you finish this?
Yeah,
I
man,
want to
you got
cut
it.
you off. When
That's
you
all.
look at other cultures, they don't have that problem. Why they don't have the problem? Because the man's in charge. There's no decision being made. The man's in charge. What gives the black woman the privilege to say that relinquish and allow you? The system of white supremacy gives her that privilege for her to choose. She has every option. She has every option in the world under the system. You know why? Because she cannot listen to not a damn thing you say, whether you're right or wrong, good or bad. Because I could point out various situations of good women that's rocking out with a man that ain't shit. And I could point out a million situations of a black woman giving a good ass nigga a hard way to go. So that's neither here nor there. But what we do know for certain is that the only way that she has a decision to make that statement is if somebody else controls what we working with.
So you haven't lived abroad, have you? You haven't lived in other countries, have you?
No.
Well, I've lived in Japan, I've lived in Germany, I've lived in Guam, I've lived in Turkey, I've lived in Holland. I've been to, like these ideals that you guys have, certain regions. Yeah, women have no choices because they are under dictatorships, but their men are also under dictatorships. Like I said, my father's side of the family ain't even from here, and there is a natural respect and a natural cooperation between male and female dynamics that I see a lot of men talking about. They're going over to where my family is from to get women because they like the way that those women respect their men, without understanding that it's because the understanding and the history between male and female relationships there have a cohesive sort of balance. It does not have the same dynamic as we have here. But do the women have choices? Do the women rise up? Yes, they do. And even in like dealing with the men like of my own brothers, my father, these men, like, how is it that they all have wives that follow them, that are, that, like, my mother was educated, my brother's wives are educated. These women make decisions every day. They don't have but they also make the decision. Every woman makes the decision to submit. Or else even the bitches over in Saudi Arabia wouldn't be getting their asses smacked around if women weren't making decisions to submit. You decide to submit to a man. You decide all of that, no matter what culture you're in, or otherwise there would be no harsh system or Taliban type of behavior towards women. Women decide this. And some of them don't. Some of them buck. Some of them getting
okay.
their ass beat because they don't want to decide this.
Okay,
Okay.
sister, can you give me an example of what we would have to do to prove we are ready to lead?
You know what? I just to be honest, that when you first like when you seriously want to be with a woman, that first act of, to me, like when you approach that woman and you like, look, this is what it is. This is what I'm about, or whatever. And and she's accepting of that. Like, for me, men should have a clean slate when they come to you, right? So if you got a clean slate, leave me where you want me to go.
Does that
You
go
know,
vice
in
versa?
huh?
But this
Does
is
that
what I'm
go
saying.
vice versa?
How do I earn your trust? You said that we haven't earned y'all trust to lead y'all anyway. We got to prove that we know what direction we're going in.
Okay, I
How do we
wasn't talking
prove that
about
we know
me, and
the
I was
direction?
talking about the greater, the greater female population. Like I'm
Yeah,
thinking you guys aren't necessarily talking about your personal selves and just like on a small level. I think as a whole,
yeah. I
when
mean,
we
yeah,
look
as
at
a
like
whole.
right, like when we look at the examples between the like the Chinese and the African or whatever, how obviously if there's some poverty there and there is where they've let the men come in and they've let the men infiltrate and those women are available for those men, and like you guys said, the politicians have basically given everybody the leeway to get in. If they can get in, and those women, and I'm not making excuses for them, because you will not find a woman that goes harder on fucking swirlers than me. But if you've let them in and you are enjoying, you've let them take on your role and you're accepting their money and their concessions and stuff like that, you took the role of the beta. And it's not even about like rich man versus poor man. We could be poor, but if you're making the basic provisions or the basic steps with that woman, just real basic.
Okay,
Just
let
little
me
things.
hold on, sis. Let me break my question down to you a little bit easier, real quick, because I think I made
Okay.
that. I said it a little different. Okay, now we know that we made our bad decision over 400 years ago, right? That's how
Everyone
we're.
mute their mics who's not talking, please, because it's echoing a bit.
I don't think that's fair to say that y'all made a decision
Well,
to be under. That's not fair.
I'm saying the way that like that's just like the same way you're saying that the Nigerians made a decision, right? And they allowed Chinese people to come in and take from them, right? So I mean, you could pretty much say that somewhere along the line we made a fucked up decision, and that's why we're over here right now, right? So
Right.
what I'm trying to figure out is, okay, after we have made that fucked up decision, how do now we prove to women that we are ready to lead? Like, what do we need to do?
You need to just take the reins and do it. You just do it. I mean, but you're gonna have to understand that if the general consensus is that the leadership is lacking, and for men, and if the general consensus that the following for women, the submission is lacking for women, we have to both understand that there are going to be concessions. I got to meet you a little bit and you got to meet me a little bit. So maybe I don't trust you here. Maybe it's going to take a few steps and a little patience before I begin to trust you. And likewise with the women, maybe she doesn't, believe, maybe she's not submitting for a second or whatever. And she, it's a process because we're both dealing with something. And I think that that's the problem. A lot of times we don't give an account for that the women are dealing with the same bullshit in this system that you're dealing with, and dealing with the fact that there's so much propaganda surround. A lot of women don't even realize that the reason why men can't necessarily have as much income as they would like them to have, and be able to provide like they think that they should be able to provide, is because of the system. A lot of women haven't even got that far yet. A lot of women don't even realize that some of the expectations financially are just fucking out of this world. Not even Doesn't even make any fucking sense. Like, understand that your woman is, like the other guy said earlier, I think it was Solar Mind, I don't know, but we're in this system where we see the average wedding, and like 20 years ago, the average wedding is 20 grand. The average ring is 6 months salary. So she's having that expectation. Those barriers got to be broken down. So you're gonna have to make some. You're gonna have to understand that some of us are still in those mindsets, and if we're worth it and we want to work with you a little bit, with a little time and a little dedication on both parts, we'll get there. But you're gonna have to deal with some bullshit from black women, just like she's gonna have to deal with your bullshit until we get there.
The culture got to change, brother. You got to raise the young men and the young women to understand the dynamics of being cohesive. You know what I'm saying?
Also,
Like once you see, like, it gets into a complex situation by the mere fact that I mean, I know you asking her for a reason, but like, for a purpose of, the debate. I mean, for not the debate, but the conversation and people listening. But by the mere fact that this question is being asked shows that we're not in the right mental position at the time. For me to have to ask her, what do I have to do to prove that I'm a leader for you?
Finally,
Thank you. So, I think that, once again, I think that, we have to raise the children because we've been so psychologically fucked up within the system that, certain things that we find to be normalized in our culture ain't really normal. It's not really normal.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's I think that we just gotta be the generation to understand that it's fucked up and teach the children differently.
True.
You know what I'm saying? Because there's no way that you're gonna 100% convince her, you know what I'm saying, of totally being in line. And I teach separation, and I say that we need to teach the first generation that's going to separate. That need to be taught to a first generation because we're not mentally ready to separate.
But how did we get here though? Like, how did this generation get there? Like, how is it like as a collective? Because like I said, if
integration.
They got
well, I'm telling you about men who grew up before integration, Jim Crow, and all. How are they able to do that?
Well, what happened to you guys in America when it comes to your slave heritage? Didn't they kill males? Didn't they demasculate and rape males, the strongest males in front? Like, this is what I'm saying. I'm not hearing none of that talk being mentioned because they have psychologically scarred you.
Right, but nobody on this panel witnessed any of that. So what?
But science says clearly there's DNA memory. That's a fact. Trauma is passed down. So even without understanding or being an actual witness to that, the same way we play out cultural ways, whether you want to talk about hip hop, whether you want to talk about graffiti, these are ancient cultural ways that we've been practicing from day dot. So when it re-manifests itself in our younger generations, they may not understand the connection, but it is coming from that place, and it's the same trauma. The trauma, it carries down. So when you're talking about a straight, there's already a psychological blockage to a woman understanding that she has to give the man a chance to lead, because again, just coming back to that slave aspect, she's watched, or females before you in the thousands and hundreds of thousands have watched their strongest males be raped, be killed, for speaking up against the system, for suggesting different pathways, for going against, again, the quote-unquote white man. Yeah, so they've had to lead, they've had to raise, they've had to take on roles. And another thing that no one's really said, and I've got to make this clear, men and women are not the same. We keep talking like they're the same. Modern day society is telling you we're the same. We're not. There's roles that we both have, and I think that's a major misconception that keeps getting swept under the carpet like it's a minor. Because again, in today's society, women are encouraged and have to pick up a lot of roles that men did or should be doing. Mostly.
I think also that what you was touching upon, I think that it's psychological baggage that passed on through a generation, but we could kind of deal with the immediate psychological things that's passed down, not necessarily going all the way back to slavery, but just on like the Jim Crow era when you had a lot of black women being raped by white men. Because these women are our grandmothers, you know what I mean? And how are they teaching our mothers? How did they teach our mothers as a result of seeing that reality? You know what I'm saying? And then also, you add a lot of social things that also impacted the black community. Thus, you have a real crazy situation. But yeah, I agree with you as far as when you're talking about understanding the roles, and that's kind of what I was getting at with the whole dynamic. Look at like the black woman in this current state. She's being educated within the system, and certain things we done went through a whole women's movement here in America. It's not just a black issue. It's an American issue that is also affecting us because we're in America.
No, it's a
Like
westernized.
the crackers getting divorced just as amount at the same rate as we are. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying?
It's a
So it's like,
westernized thing.
I think
It's
that
across the board, Solomon. Here and here in Europe.
you say what?
It's the same in the United States as it is over here in Europe, as far as
Yeah. Oh, no, I
the
ain't mean to
feminist
disclude you,
movement.
brother. No, I ain't
And
mean to disclude you, brother. I mean, we could get Western nations and Western nations. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't saying that to say that, disclude you, but I was just, I'm accustomed to talking to people. But like, yeah, you can see the whole dynamic in Western culture, period. That, a whole women's movement, a whole feminist movement done passed and affected, the Western culture. And you could see the results of that, you know what I mean, from the high divorce rate. So we got to understand, like, this is like a cultural thing. I mean, we becoming more individualistic in our thinking. You have a lot of women making a lot of more money, so now they make more decisions. Like, ain't no way you're gonna tell, like, certain things, like to be like submissive and humble. You're not selling that to, most women with their doctor's degrees. You know what I mean? You're not selling that to them because they're not trying to hear that.
Can I say something?
So I think that, these are also like the dynamics that we gotta really understand. Like, we talking about slavery and an oppression. No, she just don't want to listen to you because she don't have to, because she makes enough money to do for herself, and she's not going to have no man telling her what the fuck to do.
Right.
That's the power.
I think, but see, I think this is the conversations that me and Solomon always had, and he hit it on the nose. But something that you used to always tell me, it goes back to integration and integrating within the system. She listens to somebody. She listens to that man that provides that paycheck, the ones that provide that system, the ones that control the media, that allows her on that media. She listens to somebody. She's listening to the people that's controlling the system right now. That's what she's listening to. But that system promotes individualism. It don't promote family and togetherness, and it definitely promote other males to be in power, because males seek power and leadership. And if you ever had, if you didn't have individualism, if you had intact families, that would be a problem for the system that's in place now. So she's bred up and conditioned under the system to think as an individual, and I don't need the family. So something you said was that we got to raise up a whole new generation. That's right, because this generation of our females is a part of this it's a part of this integrated society. That's what is the mindset is a part of the integrated society. And the children, the boys that are raised by them, they think the same way, individual, not as a family or as a nation, as nation building, the way our great grandfathers and grandfathers would have thought. We don't think like that no more. But there's a culprit. There's a people that divides the system that we're in. And if we're going to say we need to raise up a whole generation, then we have to understand what we have to do is go back as men, use our minds and say, okay, these women are out of control. Our sons is killing each other at alarming rates. Who's behind it? How can we raise up a generation with a different mindset of the people that created the system as us in this debauchery? That's what we got to do. That's what we got to do in order to get a different result. We have to use our minds to figure it out, and we can't keep going back and saying, "Well, these women are raising the children," because then you're not going to do shit. Then you might as well don't do nothing. Then
I strongly
raising the children.
Oh, sorry. I strongly believe that oh boy, I strongly believe we have to come back to who we really are as Black people, kings and queens on this earth. And I think once we frame that mindset, we'd have a more good outlook on ourselves, first of all, and what we need to do and how we need to get there. But what I think is happening is that both the women and the men are being thrown off their throne. And what happened when you get thrown off your throne? You become an ordinary person and you do exactly what the system expect you to do. Instead of you looking into yourself and realizing, hey, I am a king, man. I am a queen. I don't need to be subjected to these things. But what the system is doing, because they control the media, they control everything else. So what they do, they paint our women and our men. Our men, they paint them as deadbeat dad, our women as hoes and whatnot. And that's what they do, as if it's not going on in their community. But it's because of their control the media, so they have the right to do whatever they wish. Is we now have to go into ourselves and know who we are as black people and stop looking at each other in this type of way. We can move together as one if we know our places. I am the king, you are the queen, and we can coexist together and make it together if we can think from that level. But when you have, oh, this one is this and that one's that, obviously you're gonna have confusion. And that's what it and that is exactly what they want to do, and that is what they do. They're trying to make confusion between us because we don't know who we are. We think we are just black people. We think we are who? We are just some slave people that come from the slave trade. No, we're kings and queens. And as long as we don't go back on our throne and earn it and live it, they are not going to fear us. The state of mind that we're in right now, they're going to keep hitting us where it hurts every time. We need to get back on our throne and show them who we really are instead of fighting against each other. Because I'm listening to the ladies and the guys going back and forth, and I'm saying,
I'm with you, brother.
wow.
I'm with you.
I mean, like, wow. Isn't that amazing? That I have to prove myself to you now. Back then, we know who we are. I am the king, you are the queen. We move as one. But now I have to prove I can lead you. Where all this
That's
is
what I was
coming
saying.
from?
Like, the statement in itself is very telling.
Where all this is coming from? I don't understand. And I think with that in mind, I have to prove to you telling me that, hey, it's not what
It's over
it's like,
my.
hey, no,
It's not
I
fine.
am a different female human being now, so you got to come to me differently now. Really? And all of that is causing separation between us. Because now I have to prove to you, and you're not letting me be the king that I am. If you allow me to be the king that I am, then you would see the manifestation of my kingship. But if I have to keep
And don't
proving to
think
you,
that I don't want to give off the illusion that we don't, as if we don't understand what they're trying to say. Because they, talking to the brother that was just speaking, they're on a note like, yeah, King, all right, King, but what about these bills, King? Nigga, you ain't got no money, King. we gotta pay these bills, and it's all good and all. I could call you King, but nigga, the bills ain't paid, and the kids need some clothes, and got to send them back to school. And what about all that, King? That's the note they're on. You know what I'm saying?
Real talk.
So like, you know what I mean? Like, I understand where they're coming from. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm saying, and what I believe that what Brother Out the Blue is saying is like, yo, we got to understand what the fuck we living in. This is like, and I hate to, we say religious and spiritual. No, this is the fucking modern day Babylon we living in. This system eats you the fuck up. This system make you into faggots and lesbians and molesters and killers. You know what I mean? So it's a certain way you gotta operate within this system. Like, fuck the money. We're gonna make some money. We're gonna be taken care of, but we gotta be cognizant of what the fuck we're living in. Like, so like you gotta understand the culture, because sometimes you play co-conspirator within destroying a black man, and I'll explain how. Like, the pressure that you put on black men under a system that is not giving them the fair shake. It forces niggas, like, when you say it forces niggas to rob. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you saying to me, or you're selling to me that pretty much what makes me a man is pretty much what I'm producing far as financially to a situation.
Exactly.
that forces me to do whatever to get money, even if it's shooting another brother.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that they gotta understand that shit. You know, we gotta teach the women that, so they won't do that. Maybe they doing it based off the fact that they're also manipulated by the system. So that's why I'm saying that we gotta raise the children to understand this shit.
I think the only way you're going to do that, Superman, is what you said. We got to take the women that are conscious and we got to raise up a nation with those women. You're not going to be able to do it with some of these women now, like you said, where you could lay it all down, but she ain't listening to nothing you say because she worried about getting the bills paid. Yeah, grandbaby. Yeah, she worried about getting the bills paid. We got to do it with the people that are conscious. And that's the only way you're going to be able to do it, you know, within the system, because you and Lex, y'all do the video about capitalism. And all, like I told you, all this stuff is based off of this capitalistic society. Our dudes behave a certain way, like all the flack that y'all get, and our women behave a certain way. Our women are unruly towards us because of this capitalistic society. So you got to take the ones that are willing to listen, and then you got to build up damn near a whole new generation. I don't have all the answers as to how we should do it, but looking at the way this thing is set up, you got to take the ones that's willing to listen, and then you got to create a whole different mindset within the next generation, because they all have a capitalistic mindset.
Real talk. Listen, this is the joke of it. You gotta understand the system that you're growing up in and that you're around. You're not gonna get away from that. And again, this is why it goes back to your selection process, because we keep talking about, you know, whatless women and shit men and all the rest of it. But how are you selecting your partner? How are you going about those initial conversations? Because again, we all put our best foot forward when we go on dates and shit like that. You know, we all want to look good. We want to take someone somewhere nice. But again, if you're trying to break those stereotypical responses of a woman or of a man, vice versa, then maybe you need to reanalyze the way you select your partner and those early conversations and interactions that you have with that person. Like, to me, those are the places you got to really start to change certain narratives. So again, the person knows from start you're thinking, and hopefully can, you know, get on board, or at least know that that's how it is. So if they don't want to get on board at a certain time, you have no guilt in your heart when you have to cut them loose and say, look, me and you ain't working, because I showed you where I'm at and the things I value as a man or as a woman, and you're now not showing me that you're on board with that. And again, that happens all the time, because people are lustful, they want to fuck, they want an immediate, you know, gratification, so they go along with the talk straight away. But again, if you lay out your premise, if you're real about what you're about, you will find you'll clean out the suckers most of the time. Bashir, you on?
Peace, family. Yeah, you know, I'm in the building. You already know. I'm just listening, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm enjoying the conversation. It's really informative, you know. So yeah, I'm really falling back. You know, when I hear something that I want to jump on, I will. But I'm really enjoying the conversation. Shout out Black Ice TV. Shout out to Solar Mind, Solar Vision. You already know. Shout out to the panel. You getting it in. So it's a queen that should be coming in the building shortly that's going to add to the conversation. So I'm just very interested in that, family.
All right, nice one for that, brother.
I just say this real quick. I just think that I'll say this because I think that the show that Solomon and Lex do on capitalism is real important, and I'm gonna tell you why. But I want the people to understand the stuff that they talk about within the capitalism is the reason why we having the problems that we having today. So we can't separate things. When we talk about we got to separate from this system, whether in building our own towns or going into the woods and just being opposite of the system, the behaviors that you see that we're speaking about is because of the capitalist society. So, and that's why I go so hard on either side, because I'm not going to I can't expect brothers to wake up and then don't expect my sisters to be affected by this capitalist society as well. We're both fucked up by it, just in different ways because of this society. So we got to look at it from that aspect. So my thing is more solution based now, because when the brothers is doing the show, they getting flat from brothers, talking shit, making fun of them. But what they saying is right. They're basically telling you how the system has fucked our minds up and fucked us up in all different kinds of ways and broke up our families. So now if it fucked us up from a male aspect where we can't compete, it's fucked ourselves up from a women's aspect because she's looking at us through the standards and the lens of the white man as to how we should be competing. But that's the capitalist society in all but so many ways. And then some other people can come in and they can bring up so many other stuff. So I just think that like a lot of times we waste time expecting us to wake up on something when we into it, when we caught up in a system that's not devised for us to be woke. We're supposed to be in these zombie-like mind states. But that's the way I see it.
You. I'm hearing you. Listen, we can go around in circles on this one, yeah. But I think, again, the underlining message needs to be that not everyone is on board. You're not going to convert everyone. Not all the women are on board. So we have to not be afraid at the same time when we're having this conversation. And this is to men now talking to women. To be able to say, look, there's certain women that do feel they're beyond talking to, and based on their experience, and this is the part that you always have to attach to it, based on their experience, their lineage, their PTSD, yeah, their post-traumatic syndromes that they've gone through, they are not going to be in a position to hear that from certain men.
Yeah, I think that that's an issue that is part of the issue problem. But I think that also what we kind of brought up, I think the sister alluded to it somewhat, that that impacts, but it's not impacting us directly. What has a more direct impact is once again that our women been heavily influenced by a feminist movement, and because you could see it crossing cultural lines, like this whole position that women in the Western world is taking in modern society. They doing the same thing. So I think that we talk about it as if it's a race problem. You know what I'm saying? Which is part of it. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, we are the people that is being subjugated to a certain degree. But this is like a problem in the Western world, where so you have the women beginning to challenge norms, with the status quo that was permanent in the previous society. And a lot of the previous societies was being ran based off of religion. So we're now living in a more modern society, a more individualistic society. We've been through a feminist movement. People are now challenging religious norms. So all these things play a role into, the thinking, So when a woman say something like, I don't need no man for shit, you know what I mean? She really means that. I don't think that she's like, that's based off of what she directly did for herself. She's like, yo, I was the one that was up all night doing this fucking dissertation to get this doctor's degree. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, she's on that type of note. So, like, me trying to sell her, like, some Black Power shit, she ain't trying to hear that shit. She's not trying to hear that shit. Like, she like, yo, I earned what I earned what I got. You know what I'm saying? I earned it. And this is what it is. And I'm not really trying to hear what you're talking about, because you could have did the same thing like I did. So she's not even grasping, you know what I'm saying, what you're saying.
Well, I think that is true in some cases, but I do believe that like these movies that we're watching at the movie theater, Big Mama House, giving blowjobs, to a younger man that's not at her age range. I mean, just disrespectful things that's being portrayed on TV, movies, and even music. Basketball Wives, they were heavily pushing that agenda. I don't need a man for, S. So you're right with that mindset. Not all black women look at it from that perspective, especially if a woman had a father figure or a father or, someone that's real important of a male role model in her life to get her to where she's at now. Those are the fundamental things that have been missing, but it goes back to the government program and the propaganda that has been instilled on the black community, because we have been targeted for so many case studies, bio warfare, war, warfare, crack. I mean, you name it. We're the most targeted race on the face of the earth, and they're still trying to figure out how to decline our birth rates and all of this. So it's bigger than just us being an independent black woman with the attitude saying, yo, I did all of this by myself. Even if we get past that point, we're still dealing with other small challenges within the relationship because of the foundation was broken or was not given to us at a young age in order for us to break that glass ceiling. The young man that has the Jamaican flag, I agree with him. We are spiritual people, but it's like we're forgetting to tap into that.
It's a grenade flag.
Right, so I just feel that, we have to acknowledge all of this other issues that is facing us as a community, because like I live in the suburbs. I just drove by Big Brother, Big Sister, facility, but it's in the suburbs. But we used to have that in the neighborhoods, in the urban neighborhoods and stuff. They took all of that stuff away as well, because those type of programs provided father figures for the neighborhoods. I grew up in a Big Brother, Big Sister program, so it kind of helped balance what I'm, as far as me being the adult and making better decisions, with my relationship, not only with my man, but then also relationships from sisters to sisters. That's even broken as well. So it's not just the family piece broken. It's us trying to even be there for each other. I see more black men more unified on a lot of things than black women. Like we hate on each other. So if we can't even be ourselves best friend, how can we hop in these relationships with our counterpart and be their best friend and try to be there for them?
Kind. And you know why I agree with that so much? I've seen it actually. I've seen it actually. I don't know how many of the sisters on the panel have their natural hair, but I've seen the pushback of the natural hair. It was more pushback from other women than it was from men. I'm looking like I'm hearing the shit that some folks, sisters, own mothers, own cousins would say about their hair when they doing natural. I'm like, hold on, y'all got to get that in order. There's no way, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
can I
She
that's
tell you
that's an
you're beautiful,
interesting
and
point.
she
The hair thing is really interesting because like I haven't like relaxed my hair in probably 25, 26 years. So before it was popular or on code to do this, I did that. And now like I was never against any natural hair movement. What I was against was what I knew would be the commercialization of it. And I feel like a lot of us are emotional with stuff like that, and we look for ways to socially subjugate each other. So what I've saw from the natural hair movement, I like the fact that sisters are definitely embracing their own hair and understanding, how to take care of their hair or whatever. It's something that I've always known. And I never noticed, and it may be because I'm a little bit older, but I've never noticed that there was not a time when women did not, wear their natural hair. Now, when it became a movement and it became used as a means, because women naturally, no matter what race or culture, women are catty. So they compete with each other and they're bitchy. That's what women do. And I knew that eventually not only would it be used as a means to socially subjugate, but it also would be taken over by the dominant culture as another means to separate us. Because what I saw was a lot of disingenuity with the natural hair movement, to the point where it also started the colorism stuff, which colorism is just a caste system. That's all it is. But it started where the women, like myself, who had never, like I said, I hadn't relaxed my hair in 26, 27 years. And then it became, those women who have always been doing that, now some of them had started, relaxing their hair later. And then the ladies who were not as celebrated because of the social conditioning, now they have a leg above, let's say, a sister that did relax or did wear a weave or, something of that nature. Now it became another layer to fight. And to the point where, because they're always watching us, and they're always watching us socially. They get most of their cues and their propaganda from what we do and how we respond, in so much that now the white women are having these videos talking about their natural hair. And, oh, look at my natural hair. And then you have women who have my hair type, which is I have a looser curl that, people, I mean, the shit gets nappy, don't get me wrong, but I have their hair texture that a lot of people buy. So it would be disingenuous for me to be walking around talking about team natural and talking shit about women who have a coarser, tightly coiled hair, because I know for a fact that the reason why a lot of them weren't natural is because they didn't understand, and that their tighter coils were not as accepted as mine. And that's what we've saw people like who have hair types like mine go and put themselves above women who have tighter curled hair. So now it's layers within even the natural hair thing. Like, some men will, I've seen them talk shit about black women who have a nappier hair. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't like silly stuff being used as a movement, because everybody takes over it. And everybody gets on, because I think we look stupid having 3-hour conversations every day on every channel about hair texture and hair type. And it's gotten so bad that they're all doing it. They're talking about our hair now.
Mouse click.
What's up, brother? Oh, he's muted his mic. I thought he was going to say something. I'm feeling you, sister, yeah.
Mic check.
All right, go ahead.
Hello?
I'm sorry to interrupt.
That's all. Introduce yourself, sister.
I'm Khadijah Aziz Muhammad.
Okay, yeah, and what do you have to offer, my dear? You've been listening to the conversation so far?
I've heard most of the conversation. I would like to go back into when we was talking about as far as the African American family. One of the things that I would have to say is that our mistake started when as a black woman, we have to understand how the corporate world deals with our black men. They basically use us, black women, to belittle the black men. So in order for us to say, okay, well, we want our men to step up to the plate and we want to be able to have this and that, well, they can't if we are taking all the spots, and we're fulfilling all the spots in the corporate world, and they're kicking the black man out. Two, another problem came in to where we stopped raising children. We don't have the big mamas anymore. The big mamas used to raise the women to, maybe this is what you do in the house. This is how you take care of your home. We don't have that anymore. We raise our children now to be more so successful than we do, well, we're not going to raise you to be a wife, or we're not going to raise our boys to be a husband. That's no longer looked up on. It's looked down upon, because, we're now teaching our children that, you don't need a family. You can do good by yourself. If you happen to get somebody that's on your level, then that's cool. But if not, hey, you good by yourself. That's another one of our mistakes. And I lost my train of thought for a second. I'm sorry, because I'm at work. But yeah, I mean, it's so much that we have to, like, as far as women, we can't put 100% of the blame on men, because if we say, for instance, we're in this job together. You're my husband, I'm your wife, and we're both going for the same position. And here comes the quote unquote white man, and he says, okay, I'm going to give you this position. And I know for a fact in my heart that my husband is more qualified to take that position. Me, myself, I would step down and say, or either I would do one or two things. I would take the position and I would raise my husband up, or I would step down and say, sir, no, he's more qualified to take that position. And without us doing that, they basically used us, the women, to belittle our black men. We became corporate whores.
Damn.
God damn. And that's
Drop the bomb on that, George.
That's a good woman right there. And now what I'm saying is that's how you got to think in this society, because you're at war and you understand how this shit was constructed. They know, like, we could get into actual policies that was passed, you know, through what's the act that they passed, that affirmative action. When you have affirmative action as was passed, they included women and minorities. So what you see in the work world, if I'm a corporate person, I'm gonna hire a Latina woman, I'm gonna hire a black woman, because that's taking the minority and that's taking the women that I have to hire. So what she's saying is on point, because what happens as a result of that is that now you have these very successful black women, and not really properly trained or conditioned. They're going to think that they're better than their black men, not understanding how this shit is structured. You know what I'm saying? So that's how the black woman of today, if we're going to be in this society, that's how she got to be thinking.
Most definitely.
And it basically makes it impossible for a successful black woman to raise a family, because if we really look and get into the reasons on why we were created, and if we played the roles that we were meant to play, then our family structure will be much more than what it is. But because they not only forced, and we so gladly accepted going into the corporate world, we forgot about children. So we basically left the media, we've left the horrible school system to raise our children to be whatever it is that they wanted our children to be. And at the same time, our children are looking at us as first of all, we are their first role model, because they mimic everything that they see us do. So if I'm bringing home, if I'm working, my husband is working, but I make more money than my husband, and then I turn around and I belittle him and I talk shit to him, then that's the same trait that my daughter is going to pick up. And my daughter's going to be like, well, that's what my mom did.
That's very true.
The son have respect for the women, because he was like, well, damn, mom talked to this dude. That was a good dude. I really liked him growing up as a child. I really liked him, but my mother just dogged the shit out of him. So now he has grown up with the idea in his mental thought that black women ain't shit. And this is the cycle that we started. We allowed this. So it's not just, our black men haven't stepped up. No, we've basically pushed them out the way. We helped the white man push them out the way by not being supportive.
The corporate job itself was a way to push us out of the way. If you notice, everything more technological. We made technology advancements, and then on top of that, we went into a corporate world, which that eliminated all of the warehouse jobs, that eliminated all of the welding business. I mean, all of the different things that we had. All of those things were moved out of our neighborhood. So that system in itself was made to get rid of us. And so you got to think, at one point in time, we were raised on, okay, grow up, make sure that you provide for your family and this and that. Now they didn't really, we weren't really stressing over how far you go in education. That wasn't that big of a deal. So now we in a predicament where those jobs are gone, and we don't have the education, and everybody looking at us like, well, you need it. I mean, it's just, I mean, we in a slippery slope.
Not to mention, we had the other things that come about, like that that pit us against black men. Like the whole mass incarceration thing sounds good to talk about, you know, from the outside, but a lot of people don't break that down completely. Like I'm literally okay because my father's father was okay because there was no interruption of male leadership in my family. So when there's been one generation of male wiped out, that ruins the next several generations. Like I can give an example of where my grandfather's brother was actually lynched. So there was a point within the family where there was no where the men had been wiped out. So the protection and the provider had been wiped out. So then that made, you know, that's why his children or his offspring don't have the same end results as his brothers, my grandfathers did. We all are still literally living from the foundation that our great grandfathers built, but they had, you know, an absence because of the mass incarceration thing, because of the, you know, a lot of things that kind of trickled down. But I wanted to speak to the point that the sister brought up about corporate America, and coming from, you know, corporate America, and I would say middle management in corporate America, I did get the opportunity to rub elbows with brothers. There were also CPAs, there were also MBAs like myself, and what I did notice is that a lot of times there were concessions made for white women more so with that affirmative action, which is not even relevant, you know, for black people at this point or whatever. But like affirmative action took care of white women. Only I want to say it like less than 8%, at least here in the state of Illinois, of affirmative action is actually helping black people. It put white women level with me that didn't have my education and didn't have my credentials. But I didn't know that there was a situation where like brothers were being offered the same job as a black woman with the same experience. And I think she was suggesting that they were offering corporate jobs and you guys had equal education and
Equal
equal
education,
experiences.
and they're not getting the same opportunities. That's the same here in UK. I think
Yeah,
what we got to realize is there's a small number of people that are qualifying from college or university and actually making it into the job market itself. It's the same thing as when they say, look, Africans are qualifying at the highest level in higher education, but only like 7 or 8% out of however many the percentage, which is quite kind of high compared to that, is coming back and being and applying their skills in Africa. So you got this disproportionate number of people who are being educated, which is still dropping ever more because of, again, economics, capitalism. They've created a situation where you won't even get recognized if you don't have those bits of paper. So that's already a situation that, again, if your family's not two-parent in structure and there's not certain finances, that whole college issue is going to be a problem, or university. Then after that, the number of males that are getting into those corporate jobs without either being a coon, where even though you see them in that job role, they are 100% against anything pro-black because they understand it will rock their position and they know it's not the done thing in those circles. So you're going to have that situation, or you're going to have, again, a small number of brothers, and I say brothers in the sense that they are aware of their surroundings and situations and understand they're always going to be teetering a thin line, because again, the problem is that whites find black males scary. So the slightest bit of conflict, friction in direction of opinions, and I've witnessed this as well. They're looking to oust you.
yeah,
You cannot make the same complaints or even suggestions as your white counterparts if you're black male. So I think that's something that we have to look as a reality, and that's why, again, as the other brother said, out of the blue, he was talking again where the situation has changed since the time of learn a skill, be good with your hands, and that can carry you through having a family, a home, supporting you to the situation now we're at now, where, as he said, it's more corporate, it's more data input jobs. So now it does matter whether you've gone through certain levels of education, because you won't get in the door unless they see certain things behind your name, or they don't see you attend certain places. You're not getting a look in. The skill market of you being creative with your hands and your mind has gone down somewhat as well. So again, it's harder for the general populace of black males to flourish in the same way, let alone hold on to wealth when you do make money. And again, that goes back to how they groom your mind. So when you do get a successful black man or black woman, again, they've created a narrative where you're only around other races. So now you look to them to naturally socialize with, and you end up now marrying, integrating like that. And again, any of your success that you glean as a black person now is dissipated when you're with this other person of another race.
Hey, I want to say this real quick. I'm glad that the sister came.
This is one of the reasons on why I push my daughters so hard to get out of the mindset of feeling like, okay, when I turn 16, I want to go work for somebody. No, you're going to create jobs to where people are coming to work for you. Don't be in the mindset of that you always have to go find a job and be somebody else's slave. No, be your own slave. Work for your own self. Create your own wealth.
That right there, that's the only job. That right there that's the seed right there. That's the seed.
Hey, I want to say real quick before I go, because I gotta go. I like the fact that the sisters came on, and I like what the sister that just came on laid out in the way she laid it out.
That's sister Khadija Aziz Muhammad.
Sister Khadija Aziz Muhammad.
Yes, sir. You already know my book.
I like the way she laid it out. And I always say that I believe that men should talk to men and women should be talking to the women, especially in these days' time. And we need the type of women that think like her and Sister Nala and Sci-Fi to be talking to women, because the example is this: when you get brothers, conscious brothers, that begin to speak, we get a lot of flack and vitriol from other black men because we're going against the status quo or the grain. We're going against the corporate structure. So they want to say, oh man, them pro-blacks or them people, look at us, those people. We're going to be looked down upon because we're speaking from a righteous aspect, whereas they don't realize that they're caught up in an unrighteous system. So now when we try to talk to our sisters are most of the time going to reject it. But when they hear it from other sisters, it's different. So the only thing that we can do is what I said, how Bashir has married and linked up with Sister Khadija. Now they're on righteous footing because they're thinking the same way, they're moving the same way. My wife, we got to get with those type of women and begin to create and begin to be that image where people can emulate, because we got this other thing against us. And that's why I keep bringing up the soul of mine thing when they're talking about the capitalism. You should start, read the comments, see how they get so much opposition from black men, because it's two black men telling them to get out of this system, separate your mindset from the system. Niggas ain't trying to hear that shit. So, but that's the zombie-like mind state that we're caught up in. So the only thing that we can do is to get with women that's thinking like us, and then we got to create the model. Other than that, we just talk like this all day. It's just caught up in the system. We got to get with people, like-minded people, and begin to create. And I'll rest on that. Thanks for having me on, Sister Nala and Sci-Fi, man. Sometime this week I want to get you guys on, and I want to get you guys on my channel, and I want to have a conversation. So I'll be emailing you. Love you, Rich, and peace to everybody in the chat room and on the panel. Peace.
We will speak, brother. Listen, I mean, I'm about ready to wrap it up as well still. But again, I want everyone to just end out and say their final comments before we go. What are your final thoughts?
Well, I would say that my final thought will be this, and I'm speaking to the black women who have common sense. And this is from deep within my heart. Find you a good black man, start supporting him, and he will do the same. That's all I can say. I mean, that's as real as it gets. Because you can't support somebody who wants to sit at home and be on the PlayStation all day, or who want to sit and do whatever, something that's not creative. Find you a good black man and support him. And if things that happen to work out, then split on good terms. Like, it doesn't have to get equal. It doesn't have to get, nothing has to be nasty. Split on good terms, because you never know when you may need that person again. He still may have some type of something that you can benefit from, and you may have something that he can benefit from. So I really want to beg us as women to start supporting our black men and uplift them, not hold them down or bring them down, uplift them so we can uplift our community.
Fire.
No doubt. No doubt.
Fire. That's fire.
Well, I would like to say we need to speak to those women that doesn't have any common sense too. I mean, because those are the ones that is really causing us to look bad as a race. And if we don't start with them, even if they don't want to hear what we have to say, it's going to be synced inside their head. So when they are ready, they're going to remember the conversations that we had with them saying, yo, you shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't be doing that. You know, won't you try the opposite, think outside the box on this situation? Because, you know, if we look back on our past as individuals, we may have done some things that have shamed our community or made some bad decisions and then realized that wasn't the best for us. So I don't think we should only just focus on women that has common sense. We need to also focus on ones that are stupid, dumb, ratchet, you know, loudmouth. We need to kind of pull them to the side too, because I know all of us got those type of women in our family, whether they are our first cousin, second cousin, our brother, I mean our sisters-in-laws, whatever. We have those people in our family, and we made like the baby kids or something like that. But those are the ones that's gonna rise up and you know, maybe be the one that take over the nation. So we can't just look at it from a perspective of, okay, just need to focus on those who's on the journey to be conscious. We need to get the hard-headed ones and try to let them know that this is not right. And then if we do see them doing some stupid stuff, whether we know it or not, it's our responsibility, especially as Black women, holding other Black women accountable for their actions. I mean, for real. This makes no sense. Even when I see these videos of women being disrespected at the nail shop and things of that nature, if a woman can't pay for anything, whether it's at the grocery store, whatever, if we're there, what is wrong with our sisters showing some type of sisterhood, whether if we know these women or not? Why are we so scared to approach these ratchet ass, disrespectful ass women? I don't get it. That's my final thought. But I just think it needs to be said. We need to stop encouraging each other to have abortions. We need to stop encouraging each other to leave our mans. We need to stop encouraging each other to disrespect the little boys that they are raising and telling them they need to beat their ass versus then talking to them. So it's a lot of things that we need to do as Black women to hold each other responsible. And that's my final thought. But I appreciate both women that's on this panel. I am honored to be on this panel with these women because they really brought a lot to the table.
Thank you. So I'd just like
Yeah,
to
I want
say
to give a
that,
shout out to the. Oh, go ahead, sis.
Hold
no,
up.
baby, go ahead. Go ahead, honey. I'm sorry.
No, go on, my dear. Finish what you're saying, and then we'll move to Solomon.
Okay. I just want to say that we have got to stop looking at each other through the eyes of the oppressor, white, the dominant culture, however you want to categorize it. I have to stop, seeing this occur so much. We have to stop looking at each other through their eyes and begin to look at each other for what we are and look at each other with some compassion. We should not be in competition. Black men and Black women should not be competing with each other, and we should not be publicly defaming each other. The whole, idea of, okay, we're trying to make each other accountable by this call out culture that we're in. I'm calling out men, or I'm calling out women. We're not the only people in the room, and the optics of that is not favorable for us, because culturally, as a unit of people, we can't separate from each other. I'll never be able to separate my image from the black male image, and the black male will never be able to separate his image from me. So no matter how much we try to put the other one down or say, oh,
You still there, sis? We can't hear you. Okay. For some reason, she got cut off.
Yeah, shout out to the panel. It was a very interesting discussion. I think that in order for us to move forward, we definitely got to reshape the thinking of the children. We understand that it's a problem. We understand there's many layers to the problem. And I also commend the sisters for coming on and posing a lot of ideas, and also helping us to begin to understand what's going on in the minds of the black female.
No doubt.
Yeah, family, look, I want to say that, this brother Imam Bashir in the building, I got to say, I really enjoyed the show. I love conversations that pertain to, developing ourselves, growing ourselves into being better. You know what I'm saying? And hopefully it resonates. And really resonate, not just using that word to sound, educated and smart, but really make it, edify us and bring that truth to mind and to heart, so we can be that light. And, it's important. And one step is the first step. You know what I mean? Just taking one step and putting one foot in front of the other. If you want to build a house, you have to lay a solid foundation, because the foundation on any type of structure is the most important thing on the building. Because if the foundation cracks, then the whole building is subjected to falling, collapsing. So, we have to get some common foundational principles that we're going to live by, and we have to, unite with those that are on that same level and that same frequency, and we've been saying this a very long time. And I do want to say this is that, it's a time now where we have to prioritize Black nationalism, our religion, our family, in different orders. Like a lot of people say, nah, it's Black first. But sometimes it's Black first and sometimes it's not. It's based on the situation. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's time for us not only to separate from the enemy without or on the outside, but also the enemy within. We cannot associate with terrorists, foreign or domestic. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people in our community, we're going to have to really war with them first, because they in the way. You know what I'm saying? They are really shielding us from gaining our sovereignty, our, God-given sovereignty, I would say. Because we was born that way. We wasn't born to be inferior, and we wasn't born to be, captivated by an enemy so much so that we lose ourselves. That's not our nature. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, it was a great panel. And yeah, I just gotta keep it real. All the sisters did a great job, the brothers. But I'm so impressed with Sister Khadijah. I really am, because she was made that way. You know what I'm saying? I met her the way she is now. So that's how we gotta link up with people. You know what I'm saying? We gotta link up with brothers that's strong-minded, want to see us do good, our families do good, the Black family structure do good. We gotta find those sisters that's really down. You know what I'm saying? And alhamdulillah, the blessings are here. So shout out to the family, man. You already know, big up to Black Ice TV. That's my family. And Solar Vision, go subscribe, go share, and post this up. You already know. Peace.
That's most there.
All right.
Out the blue. You there, brother?
Yep, I'm right
What's
here.
your final thoughts, brother?
Man, really, I wanted to just say, man, it's really kind of piggybacking off of what everybody else said. first of all, I do want to say too, shout out to Amir, man. That's a blessing to be able to have that, brother. What you got going on? But I want to say that, like we said, changing our standards. We need to recreate the standards that we have for Black women and Black men, and making sure that we don't have this European standard that we're set. Then we also need to be making sure that we're planting the seed and establishing in the youth that we are planning to get out of this system, and we are planning to create our own. You know what I'm saying? Whether that be through the will of Yah or however people, you know what I'm saying, figure that out. We going in one direction either way it goes. So I think once we can establish that, we can get the brothers got to make sure that they get that they out there seeking information and getting information. And we got to make sure that we break it down and simplify it for our sisters where they can pass it on to the children. So with that being said, man, let's keep planting these seeds. Let's keep building each other up. And Shalom, thank you to the whole panel, Solar Mind, everybody.
No doubt, no doubt. Much appreciated to the whole panel for joining me today, live from Texas, enjoying the United States right now. Again, it was important to have the sisters on to offer their opinion and to let us know what's really good. Nice one, and big up every time, Bashir, for bringing on the sister. She did definitely bring a real perspective to it. And shout out to the other two sisters, Sci-Fi and Nyla. Yeah, definitely needed. Again, all I gotta say is this: to heal properly, we gotta heal together at the same time. Everybody gives a good interview in the beginning, so you know, don't be fooled when you are confronted with people who don't turn out to be what you want them to be. And that's why I say all you can do is be honest. And if you are aware of your surroundings, lay out your premise from start and really think about how you're selecting your partners. Because, again, that's one of the key components and problems. You start off in a misguided situation from the very beginning. And, you know, you're fooling yourself if you think you can build on wet sand. So, you know, analyze how you're meeting people. Analyze those early conversations that you're having with people. Ask about people's family history. I have the understanding that as Black men and Black women, we're both under attack constantly, daily. So there is going to be healing. There is going to be pre-recorded responses that you're going to have to battle through. So that's why I say you have to lay out your premise to make that woman know that you understand this. And hopefully, you know, and I say that gingerly, hopefully you can work it out and come together. And as I said, heal each other. And she can reflect your sentiments and you can move forward. But yeah, big up to Solomaya, big up to George Macon. As always, you'll see us doing more stuff later. I know Solomaya is planning a show on lesbianism, so that should be interesting. And again, shout out to Lex Vortex. Yeah, you didn't want to come on, but again, big up to you, brother, in the chat, supporting the cause. We will speak, people. Big up, like, share, and subscribe. Peace.